starting.
Yeah, g'day YouTube. Like Inforunners. Twitch was here 5 minutes ago. Great, we're back. I don't know what it is, but there's something over on YouTube where it's not automatically starting anymore, and I have to I have to click a button. Now I clicked the button, and it said that it was live, and it said that it was running. Like on my screen, I can see the little screen moving and everything. So it has to actually have to go out and come back, right? So it's not a local network thing. So it appeared that it was working, but apparently it wasn't. So I don't know, there's something that's changed in the background with how YouTube works. We're gonna have a look at it again. It's always around this time of year that they stuff with the code. So apologies for those people that were on YouTube. Yeah, thank you.
So for those on YouTube, we just did greetings, talked about what our Christmas is like, and
you'll have to
family gatherings, and
you'll have to thank Twitch, because Twitch lets us know it's not working on YouTube.
Yeah, Twitch let us know that it wasn't up, and when I went and checked YouTube, I went, "Oh yeah, it's not."
Yeah, so apologies for that, but it's something that's out of my control, and I don't know what they've done, but they've changed something in the background, and it just doesn't automatically start anymore. And I have to, as I said, I have to manually move it to the second screen and click it on the browser, and I've done that, and it was working. So I don't know what the go is there, but
I can look and I can vouch for it, because what I see when we're streaming is I see execute screen. I see what he's doing in the background.
You can see all the extra bits basically,
right? And I watched as he clicked the stream to start YouTube and all the rest of it, and so I will vouch for him. I watched him do it.
So yeah, me and Aaron were just talking about Christmas. But basically, I also said a little bit about how quickly this year's gone. I think it's because of we just got past the pandemic. And everyone I talk to seems to say, even kids that I talk to say that this year went really, really quick. So, no, let me know in chat.
And you were also
if it went quick for you as well.
Yeah, and you were also talking about how mentioning how some of the CIG employees actually chose to go in and work on Christmas. Now, that's not something they were asked to do or demanded to do, because CIG go on Christmas break. Everyone goes on break at Christmas, but it just shows the dedication and how passionate they are for the game, just as much as we are. I just, when you've got that much dedication and to craft and what you're doing, that's huge. So, yeah.
Apparently, someone in Twitch chat is saying that there's a sound, Algared sound level is higher for me. Yeah, okay. We're having a sound issue. Like, it's not coming through for us, and it's not coming through on the audio recording. Yeah, okay, Algared, you're noticeably louder. I could try speaking. Yeah, I'm just gonna manually.
Just speaking normally.
Yep, we're doing it live. All right, there we go. So that's roughly about. I've readjusted it. So I don't know. Tell me if that works for you guys. I'll keep an eye on it, but I gotta do it as we go, because once we're live, I can't change it really.
Yeah, it becomes a bit difficult to do that, but we've got it so it's not peaking.
Yeah. Well,
it took a lot, several hours of playing with recordings and
no. So I adjusted the volume levels on mine. They're just saying it's the volume levels. That's why you're peaking on this side, because I played with the volume. That's all. No,
I get that.
Yeah, he's not popping now. It's just he was peaking because I just realized. Well, again, he now sounds a lot quieter to me, but it's got to be how it sounds for you guys, not for me. So it's fine. All right, so please get your questions in, because this stream lives or dies on questions, as we all know. But yeah, I guess one of the things I actually reached out to Paul just earlier, and he got back to me just then. Actually, I was just reading the message. But I want to do the what to expect for next year episode, because I was listening to him yesterday on his stream, and some of the things he said I know you and I would not say, so I thought it'd be really cool to have a juxtaposition. Because again, we have a bit of knowledge from CitizenCon, so I think it'd be interesting to talk to him about some of those things. And just learned so much at CitizenCon. I don't know if that's normal, because it's like, or it's me and you, we're just like sponges. But yeah, we just learned so. I learned so much, and I know you. Well, I know you did, because we talked about it.
Yeah, we spent a couple of hours sitting there writing notes or going through the things we picked up, and you were writing them down, and we had 3 or 4 pages pages when you're finished.
Yeah.
But unlike a lot of people, we spent time talking to Brian and Sandy and John and Ben and Aaron. Just because at times we kept running into them, but there are other times we actually had those times where we sat down and talked to them for a long period of time. So
yeah, but it's also because we know them as well. We've talked to them all before. Like, yes, it had been 10 years between drinks, but
yeah.
I don't know if they necessarily remembered us. I know Sandy remembered you and me, but you know what I mean. It had literally been 10 years since we'd seen Aaron, and stuff like that. And yeah, it was just interesting to catch up with people. And you got to imagine how much has changed for them as well as a change for us too. It was such a smaller game back then. And that was one of the things I talked to a couple of the devs about, at the bar citizens and the nights leading up to it, especially the ones that have been there that I remember from when I talked to last time. I said, did you really think it would have got this big? And he says, nah, it's just ridiculous. It's just and this is multiple people, I'm paraphrasing here, but they always thought it was just going to be this niche kind of game, and now it's just this huge mega thing, and it's just insane. And I think a lot of the devs, a lot of them that came over with Aaron started from making Lego games, you know, and to kind of go from that, let's be honest, Lego games now are probably more widely known, but back then they were not. I don't think that was as widely known. And I think off the basis of that success, I don't know, I actually would put that question back to a few of them. Even Aaron, I'd put that back to them. Like, do you feel that this game is more successful than the Lego games you made? Or are you still waiting for that real big release to kind of, to know? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, right now we've got one question. This is going to be the quick stream of all time. So yeah, please get your questions in.
Did you get through those questions from last week? There's half a dozen that weren't tagged.
Probably not. They came in after I closed the bot, knowing me.
All right. So we could go through those if you...
Yeah, if you want, go for it. Go read one. Yeah, go for it.
All right. So from last week, Hudson Hawk had a question. I said, will it be a big trouble or big disadvantage to deal with cargo in an ironclad assault that doesn't have tractor beams, yet still has a massive amount of cargo, 1,152 SCU?
So I've always found tractor beams on the exterior of a ship, and you can contradict me if you don't agree with this, is it talks about how good a ship is in space, right? It tells me it's designed for loading cargo in space. Because, yes, you can technically go out with your little tractor beam and do it yourself, but then all of a sudden you're out there in danger. If someone rocks up, you're stuffed, right? But if you're in say you're in even a Spirit, for an example, you can just close the doors and go, right? You can't do that, obviously. You got to get back in, run all the way to the ship, blah, blah. You get all what I'm saying.
And if you're in a ship with multi-crew, and you've got someone sitting in the pilot's seat, even controlling the tractor beam from the pilot's seat remotely, you've got that advantage to be able to go quickly. So I think you're right. I think that the tractor beams on ships show they're being designed to be used in space without loading and offloading.
A very simple counterman to this would be the Hercules. Much like the so again, let's just use the Ironclad and the Ironclad Assault, right? Let's drop the Hercules because I just realized my thoughts there. So, but that allows you to very quickly load things in with the Ironclad. The Assault really is a ground-based ship. It is really designed to go down to planet and load that way, right? Or land in a space station and load at a space station, and that is what it loses essentially. And this is the thing, like a lot of the time when you get a ship, right? They always make it like recently when we've been sitting here talking about the Guardian, it's really hard to figure out those differences. And sometimes you'll go up in a monetary value, but there actually will be drawbacks, right? And it's like the Ironclad Assault. You do gain a lot of extras, like you get a bigger opening, but you do lose that room above too. That's why it's bigger, right? And obviously you lose the tractor beams. And I think one of the reasons they took the tractor beams off is basically to change the role of it quite drastically. I personally think the Ironclad is a much better ship, right? Because realistically, if you really wanted to, you could just get a tractor beam and lift it up and over. So you could still put the tanks inside it if you wanted to. It's just that you can't use it for that land invasion stuff because you're not going to be able to sit there in the middle of battle and do this, are you? Right? But it still can be used more. I think it's more of a generalist, is what I'm trying to say, over the assault. Assault's a bit more tailored or niche.
Yeah, I could see that. It's interesting. Like we were talking, I was in the SCA channel, and talking about the Guardian and the Guardian Q.
You had a chance to fly it yet?
No, I haven't. Haven't actually had a desire to fly it, to be honest.
It's. I'll give you the really short rundown. So you know the Ares. Think Ares, but instead of being tailored at like, you know, the capital ships, it's tailored at large ships. So I think Connie, MSR, Corsair, right? Yeah. So it still needs the protection of fighters to do its job properly, and that's why people are hating on it.
Oh, look, I could see that. The second it was said to have size 5 turrets, 5-size guns, I knew it was aimed at the larger ships because we know size 1 to 4 are fighters, size 5 and up are large ships and capitals. So the second you get a ship that's only got size 5 weapons, you know what it's geared for. But they were talking about the speed of the differences, and they were talking about 1 or 2 ms, meters a second difference, and not meaning much. And those who were into racing, they said, no, but in racing that makes all the difference. But in the wider scheme of things, that extra 2 meters a second is irrelevant.
Well, maybe that's what's coming down the line is a Guardian racing variant or something like that. And I wouldn't be surprised being Miro, to be honest with you. But we actually, so we did a we didn't hear about one of them until kind of basically the turning one, right? So Drazen hadn't been in it yet, and I got him with Drazen. So he was in one and I was in the choir, or vice versa. And we basically looked at each other and just like I pressed Q and he pressed E, and we span, and I counted the number of spins, and I think I did 20 and he did 19. And
it's subtle difference.
One spin difference over that amount of time is so negligible. It's not funny.
But and that's what the discussion was saying. When you're out in the world, that difference is minuscule, and yet when it was in the racing environment, that minuscule difference made all the difference. And it was an interesting discussion. Just listening into it, I wasn't participating. I was just listening to what the discussion was saying. But it was an interesting take on the ship and the values of a ship and the way they fly. So
well, with the buyer's guide I did with SA, basically, long story short, is we can't see that like the differences are so negligible. It's not funny.
A fighter.
But like again, like why wouldn't you buy the QI version for $10 extra? And I've got to hope in the future somehow they differentiate them even more. Like they need. I've never seen 2 variants so close to each other. It was my kind of. I was just weirded out by that.
It really does feel like as I look at them on paper, it does feel like kind of the Scorpion and the Scorpius and the Scorpius with its quantum device.
The Antares,
and yet it's a bigger, but it has that feel. So
all right, there's 166 people watching, and we've had 2 extra questions come in, so this is going to be an incredibly short stream. Please, guys, get your question. Just put question in your question. This, as you guys know, this stream, I've got to ask for questions when there's no questions, essentially. You've got to whip them back in shape. Come on. Tell me what you're looking forward to for next year. Questions about next year. Questions about gameplay. Questions about anything you want to do with the Star Citizen or Algared and myself, actually. Why not? So, I'm going to whip you again. Because again, I'm happy to go back to bed. But, lives or dies on your questions. All right. Next question, Algared.
All right. Zenyan Bean or Zen Yen Ben
Yep.
from last week had a question. Do you think CIG bottled it by not following through with the missile and Torp's insurance cost changes? And do you think CIG was pressured by Polaris owners crying?
Right. Sorry, I was reading stuff.
So my understanding is that CIG had said basically if you when you get your Polaris, it'll be fully stocked, but if you reclaim it, you'll have to buy the missiles.
Not following through. Yeah, they did change the price. I think let's be honest, the prices were a little bit overkill. They obviously were still on the essentially Evo Cardi build at that time. So
Yeah.
I think they tried the prices and probably nobody was buying them. So they just went, this is way too expensive, and they probably found people were just reclaiming the ships rather than paying for the missiles. And so basically when it gets to that point, they know they have to adjust the prices. So
Do you want to start the bot again? Because Chad is saying that it's not working on YouTube.
right. Oh, it does say chat ID invalid. Oh, that's probably why it's not all working. They've moved all our IDs around. Hang on, I'll try again.
So we'll try and get that up for you guys,
Or
and
the bot,
hopefully that will solve
the bot is
the issue.
or the bot is actually broken.
That would be sad.
Yeah, that might be the case. We've become so reliant on this bot.
Yeah, you'll see the conversations.
Oh no, they're coming in now. Holy shit! All right, there's about 6 of them came in. Right.
All in one hit.
Yeah,
all right.
in one hit.
So the bot is now up and working
Yep, more coming in too. Right. Yeah. So I don't know why. Hey, it just wasn't working, but she's going now.
Yeah.
She's getting old.
With the missile stuff, I'd like to see that if you've got a Polaris or a missile ship and you haven't fired your missiles and you reclaim it, you get everything back. But if you fired them, you don't get them back. If that makes sense. So if you fired 5 missiles, you get your ship back with 5 missiles.
Yeah, I still think the game's not ready for that though. Like we don't have again, like they don't have the time to balance stuff, right?
Yeah.
They just don't, because in development, it's all about trying to get to the other side and then worrying about it. And it's just such a low priority order. You got to roughly balance it, right? So people are not just like firing them like candy, but you also, you know, so I think they, I don't know what the happy medium is. I'm going to be honest. I haven't been on a Polaris enough to, like, I've been on maybe 20 times on a Polaris, but I've never fired a torpedo on the thing, to put it that way, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and I get what you're saying, because it is basically a balance issue.
Yeah.
And so when they dial in balance, that's where we'll see it really come into play. But there is an essence where people would fire every torpedo on the Polaris, and then they'd go and reclaim the ship.
Yeah.
And get a full batch for free. That was nuts. That was insane. So they did need to change it. They did need to do something to address that, because that was milking the system.
Yeah.
It was rotting the system, and that's not what you want. You want the balance. And so
there's just so much gameplay not there though, right? Like to be honest, like you know, what is the job of a combat ship? It's partially defense, partially offense. And there's nothing really besides mining and salvage. And let's be honest, you can kind of go where you can't find people with scanning at the moment. We really need scanning to kick this game off.
Yeah.
Like, because once a pirate can find you, a pirate can steal your shit. Therefore, you need to be defended. We just don't have that yet. And that was, I think that's one of the things that was meant to come in 4.0 that wasn't meant to come. But I remember reading about scanning, so it's just not in yet. So I'm hoping that we really get that. That's one of my big hopes, right? Because that was the thing I was saying. That the star map was last year, and this year I wanted scanning, and we didn't really get it this year.
Yeah. No, I think, you know, star map and scanning kind of went hand in hand. So I think you're right. That scanning is that one thing we need to really start to get those all the gameplay loops kicking in.
ASA, good to see you, mate. So yeah. I want scanning, and I kind of want more gameplay next year. And I think now the way server meshing is going, and let's be honest, even at static server meshing, You know, it's running smoother across the board. I can only imagine how optimized this thing's going to get when you can actually have static, and the thing that not static, sorry, dynamic.
Dynamic.
The question for me really comes down to, are they going for server performance or cost, right? And I think it will be a balance between those two, because obviously a lot of companies will turn the servers way down to save themselves money, right? But as long as the server has a really good frame rate and you can actually play it like a first-person shooter, I will be happy. But if like where it is right now, let's be honest, it's a jank first-person shooter, and you do not want that jank experience. The other thing I'm realizing is just how quiet the Australian server is, because there's nobody around. Like the queues are instance. You'll generally join a server and there's just far less people on the Australian server. So I'm a little bit worried about how that's going to pan out. Like, you'll go to the Americas, you know, a couple of years from now, and there'll be thousands of people. You join the Australian server and it's 1,000 if you're lucky. But we'll have to wait and see how that pans out. Because again, just generally speaking, as an Australian that follows this game, look at content creators as an example. There are far less Australian content creators per capita as there is for other countries per capita. You know, I can rattle off a few names, but I'd literally be looking at like less than 10 that I can't really rattle off that are Australian.
And when you look at the number of Star citizens in Australia, it's significantly less than elsewhere. But when you look at the amount Australians have put in compared to per capita, compared to everyone else, Australians are way up there. So Australians are idiots because we've spent so much money. Yeah, is one way of looking at it. Or thank you, Australia, for your service.
Sorry, I just read the message in chat from a first-time chatter called Hella Tons. That's actually a really cool idea. He said they should make them relatively inexpensive, but limit the stock like commodities. So he's talking about the torpedoes. That's actually a really good way to balance it. So when you go back to the stores, there's just less of them, or you have to travel further to get more of them. That would work, actually. That actually balances it in a weird way. And it yeah, as long as you had like maybe 1 or 2 reloads, you know, like, what is it, you know, 60 odd missiles sitting there. Yeah, I like that idea. Really good idea, Helitons. Yeah, that would work, at least temporarily. Anyway. Wow, way more questions. I feel really bad now for pushing people for questions because my own focus and bot wasn't working. Right. Yeah. Sorry, guys.
It wasn't your fault.
Love you long time. Love you. Yeah. Well, it's more my fault than anyone else's. Let's just put it that way. Right. Next one, please, Algared.
All right. Again, one of the last few from last week. I Hudson Hawk.
Yep.
Do you prefer the Arasta or the Orion? If you're looking into future mining.
So that's really hard to choose because we don't have, there's so many things for mining we don't have, do we? We don't have the big fractured rock mining that the Orion will need. We don't have the kind of underground stuff, and we don't even know if that's going to work for normal miners anymore. From what the last thing you and I heard was that it was surface mining and underground are separated now. So like, for example, the last thing we heard was I went to say Polaris, but I meant to say Prospector. The Prospector doesn't do underground mining anymore. So we now need to wait and see how that's going to pan out.
And we know the Pioneer now has that resource collection from the ground as well, so which is kind of underground mining. Yeah. So you've got those two aspects kind of kicking in, and we don't really know how they're going to work.
Yeah.
We also don't know how that full mining platform and refinery and how that's going to work on the Orion. So there's a lot we don't know.
Real quickly, someone in chat, Fargo Fox just said, someone enlighten me to the "Is it over" title. It's the end of the year. That is what the title is about. My job is to clickbait and drag your asses into the show. You are here.
That's right.
It's not that clickbaity though. It is the last show of the year. That is where the title comes from.
But yes, it is clickbaity in that sense.
Yeah.
It's the last show of the year.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'd still probably go with the Orion over the Arastra. I know the Orion is going to grow. I know it's probably going to need more crew than it's listed. But it's said to be the complete mining platform. It's basically a mining factory. It's a mini. So
look, for me,
that would be my bet. But
for me, it's always I always get the Orion and Earn Down. Like, if you are unsure, always get the bigger one and earn down, because it's going to be easy to go down than it is to go up, right?
Yeah.
And even if I prefer the Arastra, I would still get the bigger one and earn down, because again, even right now, there's only a $75 difference. You have to assume that the Orion is going to increase a lot more in price than the Arastra is. And at only $75, there's not many different. This comes up on stream a lot, and I think that's why that question was up last week, or the week before, because I remember bringing it up on stream last week. But essentially, the Arastra is about 6 times smaller than the Orion.
Yep.
And when you look at that, it's just never going to be able to compete on volume. And if you're only talking an extra 1 to 2 crew members, like the maximum on the Arastra is the same as the minimum on the Orion, right? And when you kind of start to look at it like that, well, then yes, the Arastra can go down to planet, so you do get a bit of more variety, but again, 6 times the volume. That's insane. Like, I don't know if that's how it's going to pan out, but you have to assume a ship that's 6 times the size can do a lot more than a ship that's smaller than it. So when you kind of look at it that way, yes, you're going to be making a lot more money, and that's kind of how I've always seen the Orion is much like any ship that can just directly take out of the game. You're going to make a lot of money because you don't rely on other people. Like, to give an example, right? This is one of the things I don't think a lot of people have calculated. The Pioneer. How does it get stuff? Right now, I know they've given it so the legs can go down, but you're not going to get all your resources from that. And I think, in fact, that's more of a stopgap, right? I think that's been put in so you can give yourself a little bit of resources to at least do something, right? But for example, I don't think it'll be good as a dedicated underground miner.
I would 100% agree with you.
Yeah, and then
and
then how do you refine some of those resources? See what I mean? Is there a refinery on board? No, you probably have to build one.
Yeah, and if it is kind of a refinery, it's kind of in the pipeline that goes, ground refinery type thing straight to the build mechanism.
Yeah, that's
There's not going
probably
to be a way to no way to get it out.
Probably the only things you can build with at the start with is the things to get yourself started, right? So you'll have to build a refinery, you'll have to build blah blah blah, you'll have to build an actual proper miner. Those type of things. That's what I think it's for. I think it's for so you are not just 100% reliant on other ships. I think that's why they've done it. I don't think you're going to be able to go, oh, cool, let's build the biggest building I could possibly build with these resources. I don't think it'll be that way. I think you are like that ship is going to be taking in a lot more than it's going to be putting out initially. And I think again, you and I talked about this with refining ships, right? The way a refining ship can be so successful is it's actually taking in from multiple different other sources. So gas collectors, salvage and mining will all feed into refineries. And that's why you can actually have a ship that is that reliant on other people, because it's reliant on many, so it's not locked to one other profession.
And that's where a refinery with multiple refinery units becomes even more valuable, because it means you could be refining gas in one and ore in another. And whereas if you only got one refinery, you can only do one thing at a time. And that's where those bigger refineries, the ones with multiple things, will come into play.
And you saw similar things in other games too, like in WoW and stuff like that. Every profession was reliant on other professions, so they couldn't just go crazy. But the other professions, as soon as it was something you needed from another profession, they would charge you out the ass, like every single time. And so that again just stops people from running away economically. But again, how do you stop an Orion running away economically? It's a lot harder to do that when it can take it straight out of the game. You see what I'm saying? So those ships are going to be the stronger ones. That, the Reclaimer, anything that can just naturally take resources out of the game is never going to be reliant as much as other ships are. So
and I think part of the thing for the Orion will be it won't be because it's basically a floating factory. It's not going to have the defenses say that a Polaris has or something else, and so it will need other things to support. I expect it will need other things to support and defend it.
Probably will need a Polaris to support it. Absolutely,
But the other thing that ties in with what you were saying about things that take away from the game, the Genesis Starliner, when it first came out, it was, I think, my memory says $400, but I could be wrong. But
it was
it was
$400, and it's still $400.
but it was considered expensive for what it is.
Do you know what, Algared? It's actually the ship that you and I keep forgetting, because it's actually, I think it's still on the old metrics.
Yep.
I'd have to go double check that, but I think it's a third. So it's up there with the Crucible. It's a ship that we probably should be recommending a lot more than we do. But again,
Because
it's just not a gameplay that I don't think
No.
it speaks to either of us, and that's probably why we forget it so much.
But yeah, but the other thing with and it also was, it was the one that supposedly had the star lifter, so that became a Hercules. It was the one that, so
It's
a lot
definitely
of
had
what
a
it
lot
was
of-
said to be has been broken off.
Yeah, exactly. And we've seen that with
But-
other ships. We've seen things like the Caterpillar that's gone into the Ironclad. I'm just waiting for the Endeavour to get that treatment, to be honest with you, when the science and agricultural ships come along. I don't think it'll... and when I say taken away, what I should say is replicated or copied, because that was always going to be the case. Yeah.
I think certainly after talking with Chris and John, I think the Endeavour is going to be, I think it's more likely going to be variants rather than the modules all being there. You know what I mean? I don't think it's because it's just such a monstrous ship. But what I was saying about the Genesis is the price of it was said to be expensive at the time, and I can remember Ben saying that the reason it was priced so high is because with the transportation gameplay, that's just going to be making money. It's just like taking money straight out of the game without having to do anything else.
Which is the same as the Reclaimer and the Orion.
Which is the same as the Reclaimer and the Orion.
Yeah. It's just not as reliant. Again, that's actually a really good point to bring up. That is a really good point to bring up, because that just reinforces what we were saying before. They're going to have an advantage, and it almost makes you. It's going to be an interesting thing to see them balance, because if too many people have those things, therefore it cheapens what they're worth. But not enough people have those things. Those people are going to be like rich as hell. So it's going to be really interesting. So maybe the Genesis Starliner is a ship worth having, just because less people have it. You'll make more money. I don't know if that's how it's going to pan out. Like, you never know how these things are going to go until the game actually kind of lands and settles. Yeah.
But I think the Genesis Starliner is one of the few ships where that was the comment that was made. It was more expensive because it is going to make money hand over. Basically, there's no preparation for the stuff you're doing. You're just making money, and I think that plays into what you were saying about the Reclaimer and the Orion. So. But I think it's the only ship where CIG actually said that from memory. So, yeah. Again, question from last week. We'll try and get these through quick. Crivitus had a question. Do you think Squadron 42 will be put out on Steam?
And someone else asked that, and I said no comment.
Yeah.
And I suggest you do the same.
Yep, indeed.
I did let... who was my guest last week? God damn. They talked about it, because they, you and I know things, so we can't say anything. So yeah. Next one.
And Hudson Hawk had the last question from last week, which was the price jump is not equal to the size, but the Orion for sure will need much more crew in the future, and it can't land. Doesn't it mean you need a fighter to defend you? And the Aresta has 576 SCU and the Orion 384 SCU. Is that a mistake or what? The Orion 384 SCU was just normal cargo, not the stuff that was in the bags and other stuff from memory.
Yeah, and plus you've also got the bags, so you can actually sort it and refine it and all that type of thing. Yeah. So, and that's an older metric. Again, some of that metric too is from when it was like smaller. Yeah. And it doubled in size. They haven't redone a lot of those metrics. So it's probably going to balloon quite a lot. But again, a ship that's 6 times the size, it's really hard to like, just talking economically, right? Bigger doesn't always mean better. But what I'm talking about is a bigger thing. A bigger human can punch harder, as an example, right? So you have to assume it's being bigger, it's somehow going to be more powerful. And again, when there's only 2 difference in the crew size, I just, I don't know. Like, it's like I'm trying to argue the sky's blue. Like, I don't get the logic of this. Yeah.
No, look, I think even if your Orion maximum crew is double what the Arastra's double crew is, maximum crew is. If the minimum crew is the same, then yeah, sure, I can't really run an Orion with 2 or 3 people because I need the 8 to really make it function. And so the Arrastra does have that advantage if you're using a small crew. But as you said, the Orion stats are still based on when it was the size or smaller than an Arrastra. We know it doubled in size because it felt too small. And so you've got to at least expect that the internal SCU cargo is going to double in size as well. But that didn't include that cargo didn't include the space for refined materials or the unrefined materials or what was being put into the bags. That was something that was totally different.
Yeah. As I said, we'll have to kind of wait.
It is, as you said, a wait and see because there's just too much we don't know about those ships.
Well, see, there was meant to be changes to the Carrack page and the Orion page, and we never ever saw them kind of come through either. So
no,
I have to kind of wait.
All right, so Citizen Ninja had a question. In CIG's survey, did Algared rank Kruger at the top of the ship manufacturers? Yes, I did.
Wait, there was a survey?
Yeah.
Oh, hang on.
And there's a link in the question link there for it takes us to it. So yes, I did put Kruger up the top. I would like to see more Kruger ships.
Let's do it. I haven't done it, so let's do it. Please enter your in-game handle used for distributing a survey. Right. Wait. This is the problem. It says in-game handle, and this is where it really confuses me, right? When you go to the RSI page, how do I tell which one's my handle and which one's my moniker, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's just so confusing. Is it execute or exe? See? It doesn't say. Is it execute or is it execute? See?
Whatever you show up in game, that's what it is.
Well, I don't know what I show up in. Handle, execute. There we go. So it's that one, yeah? Execute.
Yep.
Right. Execute. Bang. Right. Please select your age. I am 43, so I'm that one. It's very telling where the age ranges are. What is your gender? Male. How new to Star Citizen are you? Very new. Veteran. How did you hear about Star Citizen? Kickstarter. Do you enjoy watching Star Citizen content? IFC, SCL. I kind of want to say no.
I say yes because
I have to watch.
I do enjoy some.
I do enjoy some, not all of them. What Star Citizen content do you like to watch? I probably ship patch promotional trailers, CitizenCon up. Yeah, that one's pretty good. Ship. Yep. I'll leave it at that.
I think I did all of them except Star Citizen Live.
I never watched live, and I think this needs to be improved. Do you enjoy participating in Star Citizen discussion? Yes. Where do you like engaging with the Star community? No. Yes. I do a little bit on that, and I definitely like that. Yeah, Spectrum is terrible. Remedy is terrible too, in my personal opinion. Do you participate in seasonal promotions, Luna? Well, yes, I have to. It's part of my job. Which seasonal promotions do you enjoy? Shit, they're all the shitty, stupid names. I'm just gonna say this one, and the one that said Pyro I enjoy. Ship Showdown. I do like Ship Showdown, but not for okay. Invictus. So now you put me on the spot. I'm gonna do all those ones. Right. Are you currently part of any gaming org? Yes. How many hours a week do you play video games in general? Way too many. What other types of games do you like to play? Yes. Yes.
Why did I know you were going to do first-person shooters?
Because I live and breathe them. What is your preference primary input for your stats? And I play with a mouse and keyboard because I'm not a savage. What auxiliary input devices do you use? Yeah, that's nice. Next. Rank the future gameplay. Jesus.
Yep.
Exploration's got it. All right, so exploration will be up here somewhere. Base building's gonna be up the top. Shopkeeper, Death of a Spaceman. I'm just doing this roughly. All gameplay, ship recovery.
That's okay. When you're finished, you can actually save it to edit it later.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Research and crafting is pretty up there for me. Personal transport, farming. It's probably
So ship recovery and repair up there.
yeah, it's gonna be something similar to this for me, I think. Yeah, something like that. All right. Ranking the current gameplay according to enjoyment. Well, currently. Shit. Um, Cargo. I actually do a lot more cargo than those two. Racing, piracy. I'm gonna get yelled at. Are people yelling at me, Algared? I got a feeling people are yelling at me as I do this.
No, can't really see
No,
them yelling.
no, just they've passed out in disbelief. Right, cool. Um,
Probably.
yeah, right.
Like I had salvage up the top because I've been really enjoying salvage, but mining I can't say I enjoy it as much. It's just it just wasn't there for me. And yeah, that's pretty much what I did as well.
Yeah. Well, it's just not finished yet. You know.
Yeah.
Rate the various ship manufacturers, but oh god, this is getting into personal stuff now. I think they're a bit in the middle.
And this was
Aerospace
a problem with like rate your various ship manufacturers by design, aesthetic, and usability. And so I would love to put Kruger right at the top, but I don't think it's got enough ships, and I don't think they're that usable. But I love the aesthetic and I love the company. So you know,
really, yeah. I want more for Kruger.
yeah,
Matashi's not so great. I want them to be better. That they're awful, and they need to be a lot better. And RSI's about there. Yeah. Rank the gameplay archetype you would like to see more ships created to support. God, this is.
I had fighters right down the bottom.
Yep, that probably would be correct. In addictions, right up. Yeah, medical can stay there. Repair probably needs to go up for me. Multi-crew definitely need. That would be higher than the other combat ones, that's for sure. Salvage. I don't need more for it. I just no. This is the thing. They don't have the other gameplays in here. I want the other gameplays, and they're not listed.
Yeah, when the exploration and
yeah,
and stuff. Yep.
This is going to give him the wrong idea. That's really annoying. Yeah, I'm probably gonna leave it like that. All right, next. Overall, I find mining enjoyable and engaging. Not at the moment. It's not fully. I find FPS mining to be no. I find solid ship mining to be enjoyable and Find multi-crew mining to be. I find that a little bit better. I find vehicle.
I had it down lower.
Yeah. Everyone.
I really hate vehicle mining.
Yeah, everyone's gonna have different thoughts and opinions. Ship combat. Overall, I find ship combat to be fun. No. I find PvE versus AI ship combat to be fun. See, I'm not good for this stuff. I'm just gonna be very neutral on a lot of it. I find PvE versus player ships to be combat to be fun and engaging. Not right now. I just didn't have enough detail. The ship MFDs provide. They could be really out of whack.
Yeah, they can be out of whack.
It provides relevant ship combat.
And with the MFDs, I'm not sure whether it's the fact that they've changed recently, and so I'm still getting used to them. Because I used to know where everything was on the ship, and now it's where's the information?
Do you know what this? Do you know what this survey is actually telling me though? It's actually telling me that they want feedback before they go into this shit. So they're planning to do this.
Yeah.
They want feedback before they. Well, when's the last time they did a survey like this, Algared?
A while.
Almost never.
But this is them wanting to have an idea of what things the community is interested in and wants, and that's going to help them decide what areas they focus on. It may even, that one about the ship manufacturers may actually give them an indication of which manufacturers they put more stuff into. So Benoit's probably rooting for. Well, I know Benoit's rooting for Kruger.
Yeah.
So
I have to enjoy the way ship construction works because both soft and hard. I'm not happy with that either. Shit. I'm gonna be cynical and then always worried about I don't like point systems like this because I'd rather a slider. Ship speeds and ship combat feel fast enough to create. Oh god, I could just see PvP people going through this, just like in all the complaints, or vice versa, because they are going to get it from every type of different type of person. How often do you do insurance claim on a ship that is destroyed?
Isn't destroyed.
That isn't destroyed. Not very often. I would say maybe weekly. What is the primary reason for claiming your ship? Move from one location to another. Yeah, probably that.
Yeah.
But
you can see there, one of the questions: restock, rearm, or repair the ship. And I know a lot of people do. Whether they claim they don't do it, but I know a lot of people reclaim their ships because of that.
I'm actually going to give them a strongly agree for that one because their animations are top notch for a lot of the guns.
Yeah.
Like they're really way up there. Enemies, no, they are not. They are better though, so I'll go up a bit.
Yeah.
Personal armors are diverse and useful in different ways. Wait, personal? No, they're not. That's got to come down. Right. God, how long is this? I thought this was going to be quick.
No, several pages.
Oh shit! All right. Well, maybe we'll stop here then, because I'm going to be going forever anyway.
Yeah.
And everyone's getting bored, and they're like, "No!" There's probably people at the start. It was going, "No! What are you doing it now? It's going to take forever." Can you read the whole question? I can read that tiny text, bro. I thought I was reading. I was skipping through it because I was trying to get to the end, but obviously it's a lot longer than I expected.
That's right.
Yeah. So
but yes, I did put Kruger up the top.
Yeah.
Or fairly high up the top. But my concern was that fact that the question really asked, how do you feel about the aesthetic and usability of the ships? And Kruger's got the problem. It's only got 2 ships, and they don't have a quantum drive, so they're pretty useless, even though they're beautiful, lovely ships. And so, where do you put the manufacturer you like versus the manufacturer of it?
Yeah.
Don't. Some people are saying no, keep going on
really?
YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah, apparently.
Well, Captain Fishsticks is saying I'm not a huge fan of things how work on the survey, and I have to agree. Just reading some of those questions, they are poorly worded, but that's just how CIG does.
And well, even some of them, like what peripherals do you use? There was no opportunity to say none.
I will go back and do the rest of the survey, but Algared said it's several pages, and we're only like 3 pages in. Like, oh no, it does say submit. This is the last page. Okay, we'll just finish it then. All right. Where are we up to? The game's overall economy feels well balanced and rewarding. Disagree. The cost of the ship upkeep includes repair, refuel, and upstock seems well balanced. No.
Still needs working.
Insurance claim time and expedient cost seems appropriate. That I would say is a bit neutral, because until these are, how can you make a fair comparison on that one? Income from completing missions feels rewarding and worth the effort. Sometimes I disagree completely on that.
I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, income from ship salvaging feels rewarding, worth the effort. Yeah, but again, it's not complete. Income from mining feels rewarding and worth the effort. Again, not complete. The cost of personal gear, FPS, war bonds, armor, etc. is well balanced in the effort to... Yeah, probably the armor I'll give a bit of an agree to, because that's, again...
The cost more fleshed out than probably any other things.
Exactly. It's been there for so long. The ship, it was been there since the start of the game, pretty much. The cost of ship components and weapons are balanced. See, again, I can't comment on that because it's not all in. The cost of ships is well balanced, and the effort... No, they are way too expensive. The cost to rent a ship and its rental period is well... No, because you can't change the gear. Even on a rental ship, they would let you change the weapons. That's what I don't understand.
So the cost of ships is well balanced with the effort to earn them in UEC.
Yeah.
So you think that in UEC they're too expensive?
Okay, so it says here, what gameplay loop oh god, whoever wrote this cannot speak English.
What is the gameplay loop you use for the most of your UEC income?
Yeah, again, poorly worded. That is not proper English. But yeah. None of those. I kind of do all of them at the same time. So I can't pick any of those, because then I'm locked into one. But the thing is, I do all,
several. Yep.
I'm just going to leave it empty if it'll let me leave it empty. Overall, I enjoy mission system and the available. No, sorry, I don't. They need more flexibility. And when the dynamic mission system comes in, it'll be a lot better. I enjoy interacting with mission givers and finding their content rewarding and engaging. Yeah, they are kind of cool, but
there's not enough of them.
There's not enough of them, so you get a neutral. What rewards would you like to see given by missions that aren't currently available? In-game stuff, in-game items, like skins or items relevant to the 40 characters. Oh, great! So, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Right. Some skins and to the mission. I think I misspelled red one. Let's just Google check. I can't. My brain is telling me that's wrong. It is wrong. Yeah, it is wrong.
Yeah, no, number 2.
Yeah. What type of mission would you like to see in the future? Actual gameplay would be great. Yeah. Well, again, and dynamic. And wait, I got less characters. If I got 40 characters, I gotta really stretch these out. And dynamic missions. Right. Rank the following missions. What do I enjoy the most? Combined Arms probably my favorite because you got a bit of everything.
And Ackland, thank you for that $20 super chat. Most appreciated. Always appreciated. Never expected, but always appreciated and loved. Thank you. Yep. Unfortunately, Aurelius, most things are too expensive when you lose them to bugs. It's not as bad as it used to, but
I don't like Arena Commander at all in its current state. Gun Rush is my favorite though. Control. Yeah, that's all fine. Rank your favorite vehicle game modes in Arena Commander. Again, it would be the team tank battles. Yeah, like that. Pirate Swarm, Endless Vandal, Battle Royale, Squadron Battle, Duel, Kill Collector. Like that's basically how I would put it too.
Yeah.
Overall, I enjoy the cargo hauling mechanics. They are a lot better, right? The cargo hauling missions are engaging. I wouldn't say they're rewarding. They're more engaging than they were in the past. Manual loading using the grid snapping mechanic and the freight LF feels rewarding. I want to say it's better than it was, but it's still there's just something missing.
It's still infancy. It still feels.
Loading and unloading cargo, ship, tractor beam handlers feels effective and neutral. Buying and selling your own commodities feels no. There's so much work to be done. Law and criminality. Piracy feels risky, but hell no. Strongly disagree. Legal missions, nope. Prisons, nope. Stanton feels lawful and say. I have to kind of tend to agree with that one, or because it.
Well, if you compare it to. If you compare it to Pyro, it's the totally other end, isn't it?
Yeah. Overall, the law system is intuitive and adds to the game. Yeah, it does. I'll give you a positive for that one. Actor seems including injury status, right? Hunger. I hate hunger. It's not intrusive. Hunger. Wait, is not too intrusive. No, I strongly disagree. It's I hate having to eat every 20 minutes. Yeah, if I engage in FPS combat injuries, I know this is something I need to maintain. I actually I've been injured a few times, and I actually like it, believe it or not, and something I need to manage. And the thing I find really interesting about it is you never know how you're going to get damaged, and what I mean by that is so instead of just killing you, you might not be able to walk properly, or you might not be able to shoot your gun. So it's this. It actually feels like I'm injured. Like in most games, it's like you're dead. Like I can have 1 health, but I'm 100% effective. No, it doesn't work that like it. So I like the way it works.
No, I 100% agree. I like the fact that when you get injured, you start to function less effectively. Whether it's your blurred vision, whether you can't hold your gun, whether you are limping, whether you can't run anymore. All of those things just make it better. And the drugs can help you overcompensate or ignore those things, but you've still got those injuries you have to manage and look for a way to get rid of them. So yeah.
Looting, collecting items, equipment, and valuables feels engaging and neutral. This is just all at the infancy. The UI widget displays my character's status is clear and easy. Wait, the UI widget that displays my character's status is... Yep, I'll give you an agree for that one. The character creator is easy to use and provides... No, it's not easy to use. It's too complicated. The dragging thing, like you drag someone's nose and it changes all these different noses instead of just getting bigger, as an example. It doesn't work the way I expect it to work. Traversal. Overall, getting around the persistent universe Starson is intuitive and enjoyable. Neutral. The quantum travel ship system makes navigating around the map sucks. The quantum travel ship system makes navigating around the system easy. I'll just give you neutral. Using star map to locate points of interest and say, see, I want to go here somewhere because it needs work, but it's better than it was. Like I almost like want to go like a pat on the back, but then if I give you positive, then does that mean you just it's positive, don't have to do anything? Right. The mini map makes it easy to find my destination on foot. Yeah, it does. I'll give you that one. Driving ground vehicles around on surfaces is enjoyable. Needs work though. Using grappling vehicles enjoyable, meaningful. No, not really. It's kind of shit. Ship landings and taggers are set. Yes, I'll give you that. They are. Them. Yep. ATC comms and UI makes it easy to understand. No, that needs a lot of work. Please rate your favorite landing locations.
In Stanton.
I think
put Louisville up the top. Go on.
Yeah, I am gonna probably put it up the top, and then New Babbage. Horizon only loses because it just doesn't run that.
It takes so long to get out of.
Yeah, but I do like Horizon. There's times I like all of them for different reasons. I'm gonna be honest. Babbage is the place I go to the least. So I probably should put that at the bottom. Yeah, that's probably better.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna do it like that. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Right. Please rank your favorite location type to visit in Stanton. Oh shit. I'm just gonna get low orbit stations because I do.
You always end up at the low orbit stations.
Range stations will be up there too. Yeah, some of these don't matter. I only go there because the quests turn up. You know,
or because you're traveling between the.
Yeah. Because this is going to change too. Like I say you do an exploration mission, it's going to take you to all these different places.
Well,
this is a really stupid question, and the way it is just how they feel, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, like I need to travel to a Lagrange point to get to certain location. I travel there a lot. Are Lagrange Point's my favourite place to visit? No. But I travel there a lot.
Yeah.
I suppose it is Lagrange stations like, that's like
All right.
Harvest Station and that, so it's slightly different. But
please rank your favourite locations within the Pyro system. It's going to be the same shit. Yeah, the jump point. I love the jump point. It's my favourite thing. Contested zones are pretty cool. Ruin stations are pretty cool. Outposts, not so much. I haven't been to a cave yet, but I know I'll enjoy it more. Regain stations. Wait. What did I do? Ruin stations, regain stations. Yeah. Asteroid class. Yeah, that'll be fine. Right. Rank your future locations according to where you would make the last lead to visit. I think I just have to put Terra up there because it's so big and it's got more planets. And for me, it's weird because I already know a lot about Nyx and I don't know a lot about Castra. So I think that's the order for me.
I think I was Castra, Terra, Nyx.
Yeah.
Actually, no, Terra was down the bottom only because I hate Terra.
No, but you're a terrorist. We've got video evidence, man. We've got video evidence.
I'm not a terrorist. I'm a soulless.
Someone clip that and then we'll put them side by side.
Only because you told them to. Yeah. I'm a soulless.
There's some great.
I'm not a terrorist. I'm a soulless.
Talk to Wax.
I only did that because you told them to.
Talk to Waxtree if you want to copy that video. It's really nice. Right. Hangar and ship support. The ASOP terminal is easy and convenient. No, it needs filters.
No.
It needs filters.
God, no. It's
Decorations and personal hangars are fun. No, you can't do it. That's all basic level. I'm going to disagree to both of those. All right, submit. Save my response and edit.
Save a response to edit.
No, I'm thinking I'm good with that. Right. Oh
There you
shit!
go. You
This
survived.
whole time I wasn't sharing the screen. Oh, sorry. My bad.
Oh,
People
my
saying,
apologies, guys.
yeah, people saying sound volume is low. I probably was looking down, so I was away from the mic. So apologies. Is my just let us know, guys. Does it sound fine, or do we need to change it again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So North End Trooper. At this week, I was traveling from New Babbage to Bloom in Pyro in a single seat ship, no bed. It took me over 20 minutes until I had to AFK to deal with my kids. When I came back, I was kicked due to idle. I'm okay with this, but when I relogged back in the PU, I was put back at New Babbage, losing my progress in travel. Yes, that is annoying. In 2025, do you think CIG will revisit the rules for idle kick, and how will they respect players' time? Now, back in the day, that's what the bed was for, in terms of...
Yeah. So you would have actually logged out when you arrived at your location after you'd been there for like 5 or 10 minutes. It would have kicked you out. It wouldn't have been traveling. It would have been when you arrived. And I think eventually, though, when you get kicked out, you'll come back exactly where you were.
Yeah. And there are certainly times where that does happen, where you get kicked or the game crashes and you come back and you're where you were. But other times it takes you back to your start point. And I think sometimes it depends on whether you go to the exact same server, or whether it puts you in a new server. But
we just got a subscription there from Jolly Pop, tier 1 for
awesome.
6 months in advance. 6 months in advance.
Wow.
I don't think someone's ever paid for it in advance. You must really like our stuff, Joy Pop. What is wrong with you? But thank you. I appreciate it. Right. Yeah. Sorry. Where were we, Algared? I'm a little bit scatterbrained at the moment because I'm still trying.
We were doing North End Troopers. Frustration with traveling and then having to leave and then come back and having been booted because he was idle.
Yeah, I do think they are changing things in response to players' time, like the now logging in at the hangar. There's all this talk about changing how beds work and all that sort of stuff. I think they are starting to address that. Let's just hope it goes more forward, and they have different things that down the line. But that's not something I've really thought of extensively.
But I do think part of the problem that you experienced in your single-seater ship without a bed was one of the reasons why they were looking at reworking the way that bed logout was to work. Because the bed logout was, you log out in the bed and then you come back in that position, and they were changing it so that it worked the same for everybody. Is my understanding. I could be wrong, but...
No, it's not exactly the best thing. I would have cut engines. I would have gone to my bed and logged out on the ship.
Yeah.
And then you
But he didn't have a bed.
He didn't have a bed.
No.
What ship was he in again? Oh, he didn't say.
He said a single seat ship, no bed.
Yeah, that's why fighters suck, because they don't have beds. No.
Yep.
I don't
Indeed.
know. Yeah, again, there's no perfect fix for it, is there?
No. But the thing that is nice is that single seat ship was taking 20 minutes to do that flight. Which is something you'd expect for small ships to take longer to do that. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm now hearing conflicting things about the audio levels. So from the testing that we did before the show, they were totally fine. I am at max volume. I cannot literally go long. Look, Algared, you can see that. Look, 100%.
Yep.
Top right corner.
Yep.
I am maxed on everything. I cannot physically turn it up any more than it is. And again, I can turn Algared up a little bit, but I can't turn myself up because look, I'm on max.
Yeah, he's max.
Yeah.
Max and peaking.
Yeah, max. Well, no, I'm not peaking. But...
Well, not peaking, but getting up there.
Well, look, if you actually look, your yellow line is a lot higher than my yellow line. So you're the one that's peaking a lot more than I am.
But I'm not going to red.
No. You almost... Look how close you are, though. You were very close.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. Anyway. Right.
When I was testing it, I had to scream to get it to pop to go into red. So...
All right, next time you do those sound tests, can you record them, please?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll pass them on to Wuxtree because they'll look really good when they're doing I'm a terrorist. Yeah. Anyway.
Right.
All
right. So
Stove S. Question.
Mopa.
Okay. Is there a water planets on SC Universe, and if so, are there ships and submarines as vehicles? I don't know about submarines, but I think eventually. But yeah, they've talked about ships and boats and
Mm.
stuff, haven't they, Algared? And there is
They have talked about ships and boats,
there's a
and there are
planet
at least 2.
there's a planet that's all water. There are planets that have massive waves and things like that. So yeah, there are quite a few water planets.
Bogul is another classic example. It's the land masses are floating vegetation.
Yeah, that's another good one. And one of that's the one that's in. Is that in Castro or near Castro?
It's certainly on the Bremen Highway.
It's like the next system over from what I remember. So yeah. The other one that's really interesting for me about Terra though is one of the planets, or the moons or whatever you want to call it, is a lava one.
Yep.
So we're definitely like when that comes in, we're going to get a different diversity thing. And that's what I was looking. I literally when we were at CitizenCon, like going through, that's one of these, that's one of these, that's one of these. I was looking for new tile sets essentially. And even and just to give an example, where they showed off all the different jungle types. That was really cool, right? But they were all kind of earthy. I don't know how else to put that. Right?
Yeah, that was the problem for a lot of the planets, isn't it?
Yeah.
They still look. You look at them and go, oh,
they look barren.
Yeah. Now, if it's on a planet that's been terraformed and it's been seeded, I can get that. But I still want the alien planet, the alien plant, the weird and wonderful.
But even with what they've got there, going back to the let's just look at Stanton. Imagine what Microtech's going to look like. Yes, we've got all this snow-covered vegetation, but what happens when you actually start to add the wildlife and all the other things back in? It's not just trees anymore. Like, it's going to be dense. And are you going to have jungles that are so thick that you've got to get out the, and cleave your way through and shit like that? How's that going to be in a snow environment? How's that going to be when you're running from the giant anaconda or whatever the creature they put, or the Valakar or whatever it is, trying to get back to your ship? You can see all these Star Wars-esque moments that all of a sudden just creep out. Are there literally going to be jungles like Ark Survival Evolved, where you are chased by giant essential dinosaurs, scared for your life, trying to get back to your ship, and you just it's like a complete death zone? You've got to go in there completely over-prepared with guns and shit to kill all these creatures. And then there's other places that are going to be completely harmless by comparison. But there's deadly fungi that put gas everywhere or whatever. You can start to see all the environments that are going to come out of this. And the exploratory nature of all those environments, huge. Absolutely huge.
Yeah. Indeed.
Yeah.
So I can see elements of... what was Hello Games... space game. But the one which they got in trouble for because it was abysmal and didn't work right, and they went away and worked on it in the background and just brought it out. And
No Man's Sky? Is that the one you're talking
No
about?
Man's Sky, that's the one. Yep. I remember the company, I could remember the game, I could remember the problem, I couldn't remember the name. Really frustrating. But yeah, it's, I'd like to see things where you go somewhere and it's a brand new plant that hasn't been found yet, hasn't been named, and you get to name it.
See, that's a good one too. Other games wouldn't be able to do that. So SA's just said he wants more meteorite impacts. That's an absolutely true thing. Even an event to stop one would be cool. Like, there's a massive asteroid that's just come into Pyro. It's going to hit Bloom. What do? You got to mine the shit out of it so we can put a nuke in it, like Armageddon style or whatever. Like, whatever event they come up with, that would be so cool. Like the whole server working together, or Bloom is going to be taken out for the next 2 months and until they can
saboteurs.
Saboteurs
have put an asteroid above Terra. It's going to fall into Terra.
You can pick, but also actual ones that do hit, and they take out, like they start a forest fire, but they leave a permanent crater and stuff like that.
And the other thing they do is they also add new resources.
Well, you could also just have planets that or a moon that just goes through the every once in a while it goes through the ring of a planet and it has a raining asteroid. That could be its effect. This is the best thing. Like with the engine they're building, you can essentially set up any scenario, and that'll be the coolest thing. Every system or planet will have its thing. Like Daymar will be known for X, and Yellow, it's like Yellow's known for its rings. It's that same type of thing. There'll eventually be another planet that's got rings, but that's the point I'm trying to make. Is every planet and place will have this thing that goes. That's its thing.
Signature.
Yeah, it's signature move.
Thing.
Yeah, signature. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I get you.
But yeah, no, I'd like to see asteroids. Whether we get them, I think in the long run we'll get them.
Yeah.
I'd like to see the impact. I'd like to see them as being a way to restore the resource on a planet. As one of the ways that's done. But will we? If they do it, I don't think it'll be anytime soon. But I'd like to see it.
Yeah. Do you want to read the
Stove?
Yep. Go for it.
Stove S, what is your favourite ship released this year?
Shit, I'll have to think about that one.
Released as in put into game or released as in sold?
Just
if it's released as in put in game, I think Polaris.
I think sold is enough, or released. Polaris is pretty damn up there. Well, why can't we do both? Released in game would probably be the Polaris. It's pretty.
And partly that is just because of the group gameplay. It is fun to be on the ship. It is fun to fly. It's fun to be on a turret. Yeah, it's just a great ship to be on, and that's only going to get better as we go into repair and engineering. What about you?
Yeah, I would say the Polaris. It would have to be, because it just offers so much more than other ships we've got in the past. The gameplay, it's showing us, again, you put another ship in that had new gameplay, like say the Reclaimer or the Mole had come in, you'd be doing the same thing. You know, it offers more gameplay. So yeah, I think the Polaris just offers all that, plus the multi-crew. We haven't really had a ship that's kind of sold multi-crew, and that one sells it because there's all these different, even the turrets, every set of turrets is different, so you get this different gameplay depending on what seat you're sitting in. You got the torpedoes, you got the hangar, so there's all these things going on, and just you could start to see what the game's going to become. It's the start of the ball rolling, like, literally. That said, though, as sold, I have to really sit there and think about it. But for me, it'd probably be the Paladin or the Atlas were both exciting. The Atlas itself, no, but what the Atlas represents, yes.
Yeah, I going for sold. I'd have to put the Atlas up there. I hadn't thought of it until you just mentioned it. Because I actually used credit to buy one just so I had one in the hangar.
Yep.
It's the only thing that that was sold this year, but actually have in my hangar as something I've bought. Everything else I just couldn't afford.
I'm exactly the same. It's one of the only things I brought. I did buy an Intrepid pack. I have a thing for the starters where I just buy the starters to show people. Because I don't know if you're the same, Algared, but I see it as part of our job to onboard people, and I often will find people in chat, or I'll just be lurking on someone else's stream, and someone asks for help, and I will just go help them. And just by having the starter ships there, I can go, here they all are, go use them, see what you think, and then go buy the one that you want. And when the game comes out, I'll just melt them or use them and give away prizes or whatever. So yeah.
No, and that Intrepid starter pack, like I didn't actually pick one up. I'll have to go check and see if it's still there. But that original starter pack with LTI and the 20k, that was a really good buy. That was a really good buy.
I would encourage people that did pick up an Intrepid and haven't melted it yet to go now have a look at it again now Pyro's out, because the thing I'm finding is like in our buyer's guide, if we could go back to that and do an amendment, my amendment would be, now Pyro is out, it was clearly designed to come with Pyro. The thing that really stands up on that ship is it just can warp so much further than other starters. It's not exactly, I don't want to say something that's exactly incorrect, but it's almost like being in a medium ship when you warp with it. Like, you can just go so much farther in my test. Like, I went from, it wasn't Checkmate, it was the one that starts with P. It's basically on like the third or fourth planet out on the bottom right, all the way to, so it was like a 60 GM jump, right? No problem. And there are other starters that can't make that, and there are definitely fighters that can't make that. So my point being is it's just got so much more fuel. It can just jump further than the others, and that I think it was designed for Pyro, is what I'm trying to get at. Like
Yeah.
you can
No,
clearly tell that they go like, wait, we're doing Pyro. Let's make a starter that works for Pyro.
and
And
any of those smaller ships that have that really large
yeah,
ability to travel far distances really do show that it's made for that.
Hatch City, thank you very much. That is the one I was talking about. Thank
Yeah.
you for that, Vinny. But I've tested some others, like the Rambler goes pretty far as well, and stuff like that. So it's not the only one that does it, right? But it's like we kind of said, you need to start looking at what ships are good at, not what is the best. Because I think as the diversity of gameplay comes out, right now we can go, the Avenger does so much, but I guarantee you there's going to be things that it just can't do because we don't have it yet. So we're still at the infancy. So
Indeed.
yeah.
But and I think that's one of the things where you look at when you're looking at a ship and you're trying to decide which one. Look at the description of what it can do, what they say it can do, and what they intend it to do, rather than what it does at the moment. Because at the moment, everything's in for just that playability. But over time, they are going to get diversified.
Yeah. I'm seeing some comments and chats about nerfing the distance of ships. Yeah, I think that will be a thing eventually because you have to differentiate them somehow. It's the same thing when armor comes in. There'll be a whole another armor pass on all the ships, and some starters will look different then. Like Algared, you'd expect like me that the cutter will be a lot more armored than some of the the Aurora, right? Because they do different things. But that's what I mean. That's why it's so hard to differentiate now. We just don't have enough in game to spread them out enough.
And up until the cutter, the Aurora probably was the tankiest of those starter ships.
Yeah.
But when the cutter came out, it was said to be the most armored of all of its class, i.e., the starter ships. And so I expect it to be a lot more tanky. You know, so yeah. Moving on.
Yep. Citizen Scott just says best year ever. I think every year's better than the last, personally.
Yep.
Because it's just the game is growing and moving forward. Like, and everyone who would sit here and go, is the game more stable and better than last year? When we sat down and do these discussions for the end of year, start of year type of stuff, it's always an improvement year on year. It never hasn't been. And I think the year that we sit down and say it hasn't been is kind of when the game is dying. Let's be honest.
Yeah, and I think like when people are looking at the economics of how much the game made over the year, and they're saying, "Oh, we didn't make it," whoa, the sky's falling.
It's actually a lot closer now. I'll bring that up.
I think the balance is you've got to look at it in terms of we want to look at is the game getting better, or is it, does that make sense? Don't look at the finances and say, "Oh, whoa, it's we haven't beaten last year's amount, so we must be going backwards."
Yeah.
Look at whether the game is better. That is that is significantly better than it was.
Yeah. So it's down 1.6%, which I think is an absolute jock. So it's down essentially. By the way, we do have 3 days left, so it will go up a bit more. But it's down 3 mil, which I think is totally fine.
But it's above what 2020.
Yeah, the year before that
3 was like.
Yeah.
So
let's be honest. Last year's CitizenCon was huge, and you can see that in the blue and the red, right? This year's the CitizenCon is quite small, and the month after the IE is even smaller than, as you said, the 2 years prior. In fact, I would say it's almost as small as all the way back to whatever year that. I mean, I need to go back to what is that? That's 2020. I'd say it's about 2020 is slightly smaller than that. So yeah.
And you look at this year for most of the other periods, like once you go to January, February, March, April, May. Once you get to May, generally this year has been bigger than the other years until you get CitizenCon.
Yeah, and Scott is saying he's not talking funding in his question. Yeah, that's totally fine, Scott, but that's a part of it. So we're going to talk about that, but plus we're talking about the other stuff.
Yeah.
So it's all encompassing.
The reason I brought that up is I was saying people often focus on the funding and saying, "Oh, the game's better or worse," but I actually think we need to focus more on that type of question. Is the game functioning better? Is the gameplay better? Is the game moving forward? And I think the game is better. And we often focus on the funding, and the
Yeah.
funding, I think, really keys into, are they paying the bills? And if they're paying the bills, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. No, I
but yeah.
don't disagree on that. Look, yeah, I always think that's always what I'm looking for. Even those really down, dire times where it gets bad, like the lull periods, I'm always looking for progress and moving forward. And as long as it comes out and there's been progress made, even attempted progress, like the times
Mm.
iCache failed and things like that,
Mm.
fair R&D, excuse me, and you have to kind of, when they talk about their progress and failures and stuff like to publicly sit there and talk about how iCache failed must have been exceedingly difficult for them, right? We stuffed up. It sucked. We went through all this shit and it failed, but we learned how not to make a light bulb, essentially, is what they told us. That's really hard to do in a room just of your peers, let alone people that are giving you money to do so,
Yeah.
so, and knowing all the backlash that they get from, you know, so-called gaming journalists and stuff like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're
That was,
essentially you're giving fuel to the fire, are you not?
yep. Yeah, that would have been a hard thing to do. And yet, even just looking at the way that we're told Chris reacted to the crash at CitizenCon. Now, he was bummed that it crashed. They'd been testing it for weeks and days, and everyone had been testing it at their end and for their thing to make sure everything was working. Running perfectly, runs it on stage, and it tanks.
Turned out
And he
it
was
was
bummed.
what even when he said it must be something wrong with this PC, they found out the next day
It was the
it
PC.
was the PC. There was something not installed on it that was causing all the issues. It was like a small little
But
driver or something. Yeah.
but but Chris was bummed, and that it had worked so perfectly,
Yeah.
and it had failed.
Yeah. That's
And that was a positive thing as well.
Yeah.
Like,
There's another simple one. Citizen Ninja says, but how big is the player count? Yeah, well, it's now 5 times bigger than it was this time last year. It was 100 player servers, now we're up to 500. Does that mean the game's 5 times better? No, but it's showing progress, and that's
yeah,
the main
and
thing.
and I think that shows. I think that shows it's appealing to more people as well. So it is
Yeah.
getting there, and that ties in. Like,
Actually,
that ties in for the very next question.
I was gonna say that's actually what we should kind of look at is how many more people joined the game this year.
Yeah, that'll be another good indicator to see whether the game's improving. This also ties in with what we're talking about, because it says socially confused has the question: how well do you think this holiday patch has gone? And if there are more people playing at the moment, I think that indicates it's going well. My experience has been it's been smooth.
I would say it's gone a lot better than other holiday patches, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I've seen. I said earlier in the YouTube chat that it had been surprisingly smooth, and in other years it had been a dumpster fire. And I had other people saying, that they're glad it worked for me, but they'd had significant problems. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I think it's a lot better than it has been in the past, and it seems a lot smoother. So
Yeah. Again, we really, unfortunately, I think I don't know what to expect going into server meshing. Like my hope was it was going to be done pretty quickly. I didn't think we'd be sitting here 2 or 3 years later, or longer. I actually would have to go back and have a look where it really kicked off and started, but it's been taking a lot longer than I expected. I do hope though now moving from static to dynamic, knowing that object container streaming is already there, it's a less of a jump. And are we going to be sitting here a year from now just seeing the dynamic servers go in? But the fact that they're doing things like that survey is telling me they're getting ready to go back and review and look at everything they've already done and kick that all off. So that, I would expect new things coming in, quality of life things coming. Essentially, that's what that survey was it not? That's a response to the kind of Chris's 10 with the chairman. Like, we want to know what you think about the game, so where we need to improve and all that.
yeah.
But the only, as other people stated, there were things that were poorly worded that would change the outcome of that. And there were questions that weren't asked, like, what do you think of the gameplay now? And what do you think of it in the future? And what did you think of it in the past? Like, you can't even gauge. You need to gauge the whole thing, and they didn't ask that.
Yeah, and there were some of those responses where you really needed to have I don't use Like, what
Yeah,
peripherals, head tracking or eye tracking or
yeah.
this or this? Well, what about the I don't?
I don't play this gameplay. I
Or I don't use that material, or I
yeah,
don't play that gameplay, or
yeah,
and they were missing, and so that left it kind of
yeah. And so you can get false positives and shit like that
yeah.
because
Uh
they're just gonna tally it all in and look at everything on a
yeah.
percentage. Yeah.
Swift Werewolf says, since you can no longer buy more than one of the same standalone Warbond ship at a time, now instead of 5 per transaction, do you see CIG restricting the CCU game even more down the road?
It's been that way for a while. In Australia, we were only ever able to buy one for the longest time. Man, I can't even think of how long ago that was. It has to be at least 5, 6 years at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember when it was. I could buy 5 other thing at a time,
Yeah.
but was restricted. So
I think the more concerning thing is really is how bad CCUs have gotten. The discount has declined. You know, we're getting down into the area of they used to, what were they, 30-35%, some of the better ones. Now we're getting down to the 20 to 15, somewhere in there, and some of the times. So they're lessening, and because they're I don't know if they're just seeing these massive, well, okay, I blame myself, but massively stacked discounts, so they're trying to lessen that load. Because think about it, the longer it goes on, the more people are able to stack and get that price way down.
Mm.
So I don't know. Is it a sliding scale? I don't know how that works. They've obviously got some metric thing they work out in the background. And as we learned from Ben and John, they know everything. They track everything.
But
They see that they would know that the cheapest Polaris is what, $135 and things like that.
But the other thing was, even Ben was saying the whole upgrade path that people do, it blows his mind.
Yeah,
It's
he watched our videos and he said he just didn't know how we held it all in our heads. So yeah.
You know, but like, I think if we still take CCUs or upgrades from 5 years ago and put them all together, I think getting the things to fill in the gaps is getting harder and harder. If you're starting off doing Warbond to start, they're still good. You're not going to get those really super discounts again, I don't think. Or you might be able to, but again, to get those super discounts, you had to do it over 3 or 4 years. You know, so and there were a couple of
SA brings up a good point. He's talking about speculation CCUs. Yes, they are probably the best value left now, but they are still a gamble, and that's the problem. There is no. They kind of did this to themselves. I just think they should never have brought CCUs in. I don't know if some people will disagree with that. I just think they should have given everything LTI, kept it all simple, and they've made it notoriously complex. And they're making people do this dance backwards thing. And I man, if I had the time over again, I would do it. Keep it simple, stupid.
But the whole idea of CCUs, or the upgrades originally, was so that people with packs could actually upgrade the smaller ships into the bigger ships they want. That was the plan.
Upgrades are fine, but I'm talking about the Warbond CCUs. I never would have done any of that complexity. I never would have done the CCU chaining. I never, like, blah blah blah. I would have kept it so simple. LTI on everything that you buy if it's a ship, and basically you can upgrade, and it's just the cost difference. Simple as, really easy to understand. And now look how complicated it is.
But
it is literally dialed up to 11.
I think when people started going, if I chain my CCUs, I can get a bigger discount. When that came in, that did add a complexity. But I think originally it was the idea of do one jump from this ship to the ship you want, bang. But it was so you could get the ships in those packs that you wanted. But it did become complex. Geronimo has a question for you, X. He says an Aussie told him that they sometimes refer to Tasmania as shitty New Zealand. Is this true?
I think Tasmania has been referred to a lot of things over the years.
I've never. You go on. Finish off.
Yes, I've heard that before, but I wouldn't say I hear it every day.
I've never heard that one. I've heard arse end of the world, but I've never heard.
I've heard New Zealand. Australia is the arse end of the world, and Tasmania is the shit that fell out.
That's even worse than I heard.
Yeah. So yeah, well, as a Tasmanian, you get a lot of flack. That's fine. One of the things that I will tell you about Tassie though is we are very happy for people to think it's a shit place because then they don't
Because it means
come
they
here.
don't go there.
And it's actually a really, really nice place. And as I said when I got back from England, it is a lot like England, just not as cold as England. And I think, as I said before, if anything happens to you to England, you know, when the aliens come down or whatever big event happens, if it ever happens, England or English people can know that there's a second place they can come. And a lot of English people that make it to Tasmania, they end up retiring here because they don't. They can come here because of the way the immigration system works here, and they don't have to pay inheritance tax, so they can essentially transfer all their money, and it essentially goes twice as far, and they don't have to give any of it to the government.
Yeah, because
So they end up retiring here.
dollar sucks against the pound.
Yeah.
It reminds me of I think it was a 1950s Cold War movie
Mm.
with Gregory Peck, if I remember right. And he was a submarine commander.
Mm.
The world had been decimated by nuclear blasts, and they were looking for safe havens, and everywhere was going to be destroyed. And Tasmania was the last place because its location meant that it didn't get
That's basically
nuclear
it.
stuff and all
And
the rest of it. So
it's also when you look up like the safest places in the world, it's always in the top 5. And after the pandemic ended, nobody that was locally wanted them to open the borders. The politicians all wanted to because the businesses were screaming that they were dying, but nobody wanted them to open it. And as soon as they opened the door, our population went up by 50% overnight, like literally within a week. It was, well, essentially overnight. But and it was all the crazies that had Googled where is the safest place in Australia, and it would have told them it was Tasmania. So we had all these, like I'd never seen homeless people until after the pandemic.
Yep.
We literally still to this day have a tent city on the edge of the river where they've all been put, where they can't afford to go back to where they came from. They can't afford to get into a house, so they're just going to live in tents for the rest of their lives on the edge of the river. And it's so weird because we never had that before. People didn't come here to live. It's like the only people that come. Most people come here for a holiday, and then they realize what the place is, and then they move here, right? They don't. Yep. They just don't come here like that. It's a really weird place because it's so universally mocked by the rest of Australia, and we are totally cool with that, right? One of the things is per capita, right? You talk about per capita a lot, like Australians spent more money and stuff. Per capita, we have a higher IQ level than other states. That's because a lot of the people that live here know its value, right? There are people like just give it right. One of my neighbors, right? He lives a bit far away, but he's I haven't seen him in a month or two, but he works down at the museum. He worked on the Jurassic Park movies, right? He literally made all these animatronic dinosaurs and shit that they have down at the museum, and they're like Jurassic Park level dinosaurs. You know, there are people down there that there are just so many people here that are very, very clever, and people don't know it, right? Now, a lot of people talk about there's not a lot to do here, right? Because it's all nature stuff, but it's not what you come here for. It's the people that you associate with. Yes, we still have bogans and all that like everywhere else, but they were the ones that were born here. A bogan that lives in pick your city doesn't pack up all this shit and move to Tasmania. So generally speaking, the people that move here are they want to be, is what I'm trying to say. So I'll leave it at that. I feel like I'm having to puff up where I live, and it's not something I'm used to doing.
The beautiful place in Australia. Many beautiful places in Australia. Tasmania is one of them. One of the reasons people.
When was the last time you were down in Tassie?
I haven't, but I've seen. I want to go.
Yeah, don't come. Don't come. No, it's a terrible place. Don't.
That's it. I'm going to have to come now. Oh. But one of the things that I know from people who've looked at going to Tasmania, the reason they ended up not going is because they found it too cold. So, and that's often the reason why. But
the other part of it, Algared, is having now been up to the UK and you went around to Paris and stuff. No, it's not. It's way colder there than it is here by a landslide.
Way colder there than I imagine in Tassie. But that's the thing Australians will do. They'll look at Tassie. They'll love the look. I love being here. I love the place. I love how nice it is. but the cold is what drives them to decide to live elsewhere.
Yeah.
Do we give Tasmanians grief? Yeah, but then straight New South Wales people give Victorians grief. Like Victoria is Mexico.
Let me put it this way: if we really took offence, we just wouldn't give them any food because we grow
That's
70.
right.
You've only got to look at
Well,
Australia on a map and see how green Tasmania is, and you realise very quickly how much of Australia is a desert. We grow 72% of the food for the whole of Australia. They would be stuffed without us. Let's just put it that way. 72%. If we cut 72% of your food supply, it would be Mad Max. Mad Max.
I challenge that, but I don't think it's that much. Maybe
it is 72%.
Maybe for one thing.
Algared, it is 72% as a whole. And I know this because it was during the pandemic. And I had these arguments with my friend that lives in Adelaide, and he was joking about the toilet rolls because they make it, most of the toilet rolls are made in Adelaide. And I looked up the stats and said, well, you'd be stuffed when it comes to food, and that's yeah.
Because I know Tasmania doesn't grow that much wheat, which is a staple.
That's probably because and that probably.
But I do know
that probably makes up for the 27 or 28% that we don't grow.
But I do know that Tasmania is the apple state. It's basically most of the apples would probably be grown in Tasmania. I'm not arguing that it's not green.
It's called the Apple Isle, but no, it grows heaps of different things. It grows vegetables. It grows a whole bunch of stuff. No, but like you can. But what I'm bringing up, Algared can see what I'm bringing up. But like you can see the green in Australia, and it is predominantly in Tasmania. You got a little bit there around Victoria, ACT, and a little bit up to Sydney, but most of it, and I would argue this is as much.
Most of that big empty area. That red area, that's empty.
Yeah. And again, by comparison, though, if I zoom out and say, let's just look at England.
Yeah, England is all green.
Look at Sweden, for example. Like, it's all green over here. Like, really, really green. Where it's just not the same down here. We're the only place that's kind of like that. And yeah, I'd probably argue there's as much green in Tassie as there is in a whole of Australia. But yeah, there's just a lot of, like, all this area in here is all farmland. This is all farmland. All where that green patch is where all the trees
the light
are
green he's saying is where the farmland.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway. Alright, enough of that.
Anyway. Yep. So that's that one. Adzilla says, are we gonna see salvaging gameplay updates soon with the Mythic Fortune coming sometime this year? I would assume so.
If it's what I think it is, which is a land-based salvaging, yeah, I think it was be an additional. I don't think it would be. Maybe there will be changes to the default, but I think it's an in addition thing. Because again, we saw those panels on the ground on the IRC where you'd be able to do them with your hand, and that's where I went. Well, that means why would they put panels on the ground? And then I went to buildings, and I went, oh, so they're gonna have a salvager that does the buildings. That's what I think the misfortune is.
Yep, I 100% agree with that. And we know from other things when I can remember, I think it was Ben talking about buildings and saying when you destroy a door, it'll remain broken until you repair it. And if the door is broken, you've got to actually salvage it out so you can put a new one in. So Medical Warcast says, greetings from Puerto Rico. Do you think Cloud Imperium will focus on making the game stable and more playable? I think they're always trying to do that.
I think, look, Chris is a generally, people have made it out so that he said lies and stuff like that. No, I think he just generally speaks from his heart, and I think he's a very like if you've ever spoken to him, you can just see how passionate he is, and he is like myself, and Algared a little bit. Those eccentric creative people, they are just like that. They talk with passion and blah, 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 and it just flows out of him. He's no different to me and Algared in that regard, in the way that he talks. He just wants to, you ask him a question, you've seen how he talks. He can talk for like half an hour about some really cool feature in the game. It's exactly like that. He's just really passionate. He wants to make a really good game. And when he says that he wants to stabilize and improve the game, I'll take him at his word, because he's not sat there and lied to my face. Generalistically, if you look at it over a sliding scale, everything he's tried to do, no, it doesn't always come out exactly like he said, but it's best laid plans. And Algared and I will tell you, We will lay out plans and they don't go to plan. And I
Yeah.
think anyone in life will say, I go to work and I'm a firefighter and lay out plans and it doesn't work. Whatever your job is, it doesn't always go to plan. And I think that's all he's trying to do. Algared, I'll let you
But
speak for yourself
yeah,
there.
but no, 100% agree with what you're saying. And when you look at the big ticket items, he said, server meshing,
Oh, yeah.
large maps,
Mm.
walk around in your spaceship, all of those things that people have said, no, you can't do it, impossible, won't be able to do. He's pulled through on it. The cloth mesh that we see in game, that's Chris's own code that he spent hours working on just
Mm.
because he wanted it to look right. So yeah, 100%. I haven't seen him. There's nothing that he has said that I could say is a lie. Now, people will talk about, oh, but he said 100 systems,
Yeah. But they
right?
talked about that and addressed that, didn't they? They're way more
But
detailed than they originally planned.
but even
Um,
even in 2014,
mm,
in a 10 for the chairman, Chris said, yeah, on the Kickstarter we said 100
mm,
systems, but I
yeah.
always imagined it would be 5 to start with, which is where the line of 5 came from.
So people are saying in chat that he overpromised and underdelivered, but I think the thing is it's also on a sliding scale. There's not a lot of things finished yet, right? He's
Hmm,
talking about where it's going to be at the end type of thing, and I don't think we're remotely even close to that. I
yeah,
think
no,
one example someone gave was bounty hunting. Yes, bounty hunting. What was it, like 2 years ago now? Though, well, in about 3 or 4 months' time, in about 2 years since we showed the carts on IC going around. But I think you can clearly say, well, that got shifted because look what's happened in the last 12 months with base building. Base building got moved to a different priority, and they kind of went, well, there's no point doing bounty hunting if we then have to go back and do it
hmm,
again to work with base building. So we'll just do base building first. You can see the priority
yeah,
order has changed because they actively started to work on Star Citizen itself, not just Squadron. And I think again you'll see things more to that effect this year once
yeah,
server meshing is kind of starts to get completed. More and more gameplay will come in once base building gets in. Then the other buildings are in. That's the other thing that we have to talk about too. That I do want to talk about with Paul is we both heard a couple of times base building is a lot closer than you think. Paul seems to think base building's end of next year.
yeah.
Would you say it's sooner than that based on what we heard? I would.
Based on I'd say based on what I've seen, I'd expect it sooner.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, that was in
what
game and
level?
working. Yeah, it
What
was.
level?
Yeah, it was in game and working at CitizenCon, wasn't it? It was just.
So they
Yeah.
didn't have, they didn't have things working the way they would, but
Yeah.
they had it working.
Yeah.
So yeah, um,
Hmm.
yeah. Look, I think Chris will say things of where he wants it to be. I think things will
Hmm.
change, just like in any development.
Yep.
This is where we plan it to go.
Yep.
You're planning alone, and you find that iCache doesn't work.
Yep.
Back to the drawing board.
Yep.
That's going to delay you in terms of what you're doing.
Yep.
Does that mean he lied?
Yep.
Well, at one level you can say, yeah, he did, but
Yep.
at another level you say, yeah, it didn't work the way you wanted. Okay.
Yeah. So someone said in chat, Blaze, I think it's Blaze88 said, the $1 billion game title is just around the corner. Absolutely. But by the same token, do you really think it didn't cost $1 billion to make GTA 6? When you add in the marketing budget, we know from GTA 5 their marketing budget was bigger than the budget to actually make the game, right? And they don't talk about the figures. Everything to do with CIG is public facing. You're seeing
Yep.
them warts and all, right? So if you can essentially contrast how much they tell you the game, they can roughly figure out what the game is for GTA, then you got to add double that for the marketing budget, and I guarantee you it'll cost more than what Star Citizen ever will cost.
Yeah.
By a country mile. We won't even have a proper marketing budget in comparison. We just won't. Because they just don't have the funds to do so. This whole project up until this point, other than little test ads they've done on YouTube, right, that we've seen, and they're at very tailored times, it's all been word of mouth. All of it. All YouTube videos, word of mouth, Twitch streams, all that. This whole project has got to where it is just based on that. So, Algared, in my book, word of mouth is the best form of advertisement, but does that not also kind of go to the fact of the game speaks for itself?
Yep. Yeah. If you got, straight. I was enjoying the game when it was only Arena Commander. And I was saying, this is the game in itself. This is better. Arena Commander was better than most $30 games
Yeah.
that you're buying on Steam
Hang on.
or elsewhere.
Hang on, Aaron, because it's important because the chat's moving so damn fast. Yeah, public perception is a thing. Sorry, I'm just reading what they're
Yeah.
saying there, and yeah, it is a public perception thing. But there's people like you and I that are in it, and then those that are out of it. And Fred says something to Bob, and Bob basically dishes the game, and he believes it. Now, how many people do you know? And you can speak to this too, Algared. When they actually go check out the game for themselves, every time one of those articles comes out that it hates on the game, does the sales go up or do they go down? They go up, and that's because people that actually have a brain cell go check it themselves and actually play it. And very simple evidence of this is if you go look on IGN when they put up the Squadron 42 trailer from CitizenCon, the one with Henry Cavill, and you read through all the comments. Oh, man, I'm just gonna go get it. Like, evidence is the best thing, so I'll just go get it. Algared, say what you're going to say, and then I'll cut back in when I got this.
No, I was going to talk about just the way in which there's at least one dev that we spoke to at CIG, who had originally taken that negative approach.
Yeah.
And he decided to check it out because
of us.
We were positive.
Yeah.
And we weren't dumping on it like everyone else. And he went, I've got to check this out. I got it. These guys aren't loons. They're speaking sense, but they're disagreeing with everyone else. So I've got to check it out myself. And he now works for them because he went, yeah, this is solid. And it's type of, that was word of mouth. So have you shared this with everyone else? Because I can see it.
No, I haven't shared it, and I'm trying to find it, and I'm struggling to find it. But back when it first came out, there was a comment that essentially said, "I can't believe." Yeah, it's like that. First time I've read IGN comment section about Star Citizen, and it's not toxic, and the it's obviously been downvoted now. But the very next reply was, "This isn't Star Citizen," and it just totally enforced to me that Squadron 42's branding is not up there with Star Citizen, and that people see them as two completely separate games, and they need to tie them together somehow. They literally need it needs to say something like Squadron 42, a Star Citizen game, or something like that, or a part of the Star Citizen universe, or something like that. In the trailers, they need to be tied together. And I think that because their hope of this feeding people into Star Citizen, it just proves it won't be a thing because people don't understand they're tied together.
They don't see it tied together. The other thing is, like in the chat, FLX says CIG Chris Roberts didn't expect this to take 13 years. I think he's right, but the scope has significantly changed from when they got the funding and said, okay, we can stop the funding now, and people said, no, keep going. The fans were saying, keep taking our money.
Yeah,
make it as good as you can. And Chris said, I'll expand the game based on the funding you give me.
Yeah.
So the second we pushed him to do that.
Well, we're the ones that wanted the dream, isn't it?
We pushed him to go as far as he could with the dream.
You would never get this game made under a publisher. I worked in the industry, and the worst thing about the industry is it's not made to make cool games. It's made for money. Money makes the world go round. You've all heard the saying. But Chris has essentially taken the money we've given him and spent it on the game. Oh no, he did what he said he was going to do. And then people are like, oh, they've run out of money. No, they've been spending it to build a game, you idiots. Of course, if you're not spending it, if he was like hoarding it like a giant trolley monster, that would be a problem. But he's spending it, buying new people and increasing the size of the studio from 8 people in the garage to now, what are we up to now? Over 14, 1500? I'd have to go check because every end of the year they release it. Oh no, we lost 12 people. That's the freaking cost of doing business.
The sky is falling. Yeah.
Every time there's negative, you never hear the positives. Do you know how hard it is to build anything from 8 people in a garage to 1400 that is physicalized? Like on a YouTube channel, it's just clicking subscribe, right? That's not the same thing. But physically getting people together, getting them to come and work for you, paying their salaries, you got the toilets, the food, all that type of thing, that's a lot of work. Anyone that's built a business will tell you how hard it is to build a business. And they've done that while doing a game in 5 different studios or 6 across multiple countries. Yes, it's taken 10, 12, 13 years, whatever. Impressive.
Yeah.
I cannot give them shit for that. Kudos, you did well, right? And everyone that we talked about, Algared, talked about how good it was to work there.
Yeah. There was not a single person, and I spoke to dozens of developers, dozens of ship team, dozens of QA people who were just doing front desk. Every one of them was. You spoke to them. You got the same. It's got the same stuff.
Yeah, they're gonna
The classic one was the Australian guy.
Yeah,
it's not just Chris isn't building just the game, but also the company.
I keep
Sorry,
reading chat and want to reply to chat because they're actively talking about it. So yeah, they will make a lot of their money back when they sell the game, if they can sell the engine to other people. Absolutely, and I do think someone will have to take them off. I honestly think because of how complicated the engine is, they will have to build other games for other people. But what I reckon they will do is they will expand the studio to a second studio type of thing. Let's just say, let's just ultimate dream type of thing. Disney comes along and says, build us a universe of Star Wars. They build a whole second studio. They bring that whole second studio up to speed and then spin them off onto their own side and get them to make their own game, because you would need people to be trained in the engine, right? CryEngine is not a very, let's be honest, that's where it started. I'm still going to call it that. Yes, it's STAR-Engine and all that now, and it's changed quite a lot, but it's the same thing. It's an engine that wasn't used very much, and that's why they had a lot of issues. That's why CIG themselves had a lot of issues getting people. They had to train them themselves. A lot of the people that got brought in, they were trained on something else, and then they took up to 2 years to train to use the new stuff.
Yeah, that's what, Next Great Starship was all about, was getting CryEngineers, getting people who knew how to use the CryEngine.
Okay, so there was another comment in chat. I missed, what was his name? Alpha Bravo. They are cutting stuff. Yeah, they lost 12 people. That is not a lot to use. And also, they're starting to wrap up on Squadron 42, and they're bringing in new people to work on the multiplayer game. The reason why staff are turning, these people have been there for 10 plus years. Let's just say, take Jake, right? He's a community manager. He didn't really actively work on the game. 10 years is a long time. That's like I've covered this game over a quarter of my life. That's a long time to do one thing. And I'm just talking about the game. I can't imagine what it'd be like. They're grinding every day. There are people that went there to work. Like it's a known thing in the industry. You have to have published or shipped games, as they call it, right? And there would be people there that came straight out of high school. They've probably been there. Potentially there'd be people that have been there 10 years and they're still loving it there. There's people that are just sick of it and they want change. Like, that's why we've seen people leave, because it just becomes like, creative people don't like doing the same thing over and over. It gets repetitive. We've heard this. You heard it yourself, Algared, when they talked about the ship manufacturers. They like to move people around different manufacturers, so it's exactly the same thing.
To give them the different flavour. But
if you've only been working on a space game for 10 years, wouldn't you crave to, I'm not going to say crave, but wouldn't you like something different? Even if it was like a Barbie game or a Lego game, you'd want something different.
Yeah, especially if you're only working on one design style for so long. So shop you around, get you doing different things. But yeah, and every job, every profession, there's turnover in the job. But you read the stuff about.
Sorry.
You're reading chat.
Yeah, Alpha Bravo goes, dude, I am a golden ticket holder. Don't litmus test me. Yeah, what point taken? Yeah,
but there is that point where there is so much going on, and people do move just because they need a change. But
yeah,
there's also so much when we hear it. People are going that the game they're such a horrible place to work for. People are being fired. People are doing this, and it's BS. Everyone I've spoken to, everyone says it's BS. It's a classic.
Yeah, but it survived everything, and by the same thing, 2 years ago, everyone was ranting and raving about this game. This game is now out. This game's now had an expansion, and I'm going to bring it up, and you're going to go, when was the last time you thought of it? Starfield. What a deplorable mess that was. And none of us want that for this game. If this thing comes out and fails, right? Like, no one's ever going to attempt this again, right? They only have one chance to make a first impression. They got nothing to fall back on. Bethesda stuff up Starfield, they move on to Elder Scrolls. And Microsoft takes the bill and they go make something else.
Yep.
We don't have that luxury. We've got, well, essentially we've got 2 games, but we've only got one single player game. We're never going to get to the multiplayer game if the single player doesn't do well. And then you get trailers like what came out at CitizenCon, and I show them to people, and they're like, "This is a game? This is a movie for the start of a game. It's 120 minutes long."
Yeah.
That is, I've never seen that in a game before. Like who has a movie as an intro for your entire game? And there's a really cool trailer, not a trailer, sorry, a reaction video done by a film critic guy. He's a film guy, not a game guy, a film guy. And he goes in and he talks about how they've used all the motion blur and all the different lens effects. Like he goes, this game has been made by, again, Chris doing the movies, by a cinematographer. He's going, whoever did this, like, really knows cinematography. Like, it's all these shots, and he'd even bring up going, "Oh, this is the shot that I would have done," and there's like, and then later on he actually references his own stuff and goes, "Oh, that's why they didn't earlier on, because they used that shot here. Oh, it makes sense now." Like, it's just, I don't know. Like, and I know we're puffing the game up, but the thing is, it's so easy to talk about shit negatively, right? How often do you ever hear anyone sit there and talk positively of late? They don't, right? So we sit here and we just go through the game, rolling with the punches. Because anytime you talk positively, people call you a white knight. I've been following this game for the same as the Golden Ticket or Alpha Bravo in chat, right? I'm not bored because I know it's getting to a game that is just going to be unlike any other game we've ever seen. And good things take time, right? And it's more evident now than ever. Look at all the games that have failed over the last 4 or 5 years. Before that, you just get the same game over and over. Call of Duty release every single year, right? There's just not that, like, all the games have moved to indies, and the devs have been pushed out of so many development houses for a multitude of reasons. Look at CG Project Red. They've lost all their great talent, have moved over to a new studio they created themselves called Rebel Wolves. And they're making their own kind of Witcher game to counteract The Witcher because they don't like where The Witcher's been taken. That just tells you everything you need to know. They are not treating their devs well. Yet by the same token, you do hear the horror stories from CIG, but Algared and I are there ourselves. We talk to the devs ourselves, and they told us it's the best place they've ever worked. Isn't that what you want for people that are making your game? That they are happy and making the game that you want?
Like, I kid you not, speaking to just a QA person. QA person says, "Oh yeah, I haven't had a weekend off in ages. You know, we've been doing crunch. Oh, do you get overtime? Or do you get," I said, "Do you get overtime or do you get time in lieu?" And they said, "Either." I said, do they make you take the time in lieu when they want? Because I've worked in places where you'd work overtime and say, "Oh, you got time in lieu." "All right, can I take it?" "No, you got to take it at this time." No, I said, "Oh no, I'm not working Thursdays anymore for the rest of the year because that's my time in lieu."
And I think
did you have a choice? Oh yeah, I had a choice. Other people took money, I took time in lieu.
They also talked about sick leave as well. Like, if you're sick, just take the time off. Like, they don't go, "Oh, you're out of time," type of thing. They
come back when you're well.
Yeah, they want people to be well. They don't want you to be sick and give it to other people. Like, they actually give a shit about the people they work with. That tells you, this is that human element we talk about, right? And we often talk about the marketing team have lost this a bit. They need to get that back. If anyone at CID needs to get it back. But big companies, they lose that human equation. Everyone just becomes a number and it goes to shit. And it's very easy to do that when it's out of sight, out of mind. And you'll often think about that with us in CIG, Algared, and I mean that as they don't see us every day, right? Because we are just people that play their game. But the people that are actually there every day and they see, they want to take care of them, and I think that's important.
Yeah, and the other one is, like, they do care for them, but you know they make sure they've got food. That you work long hours, you can get food. You know that the food is provided, the coffee's there. So yeah, they have a barista who's making coffee because it's going to save them time. And I remember an idea, you know, an old economics idea was basically, if you've got happy workers, you get good product. And I think that is what CIG pushed for.
Let's kind of wrap this up. I'm going to leave it here with this real brief summary, right? Be skeptical, you know, tell them off when they've done bad things, but also by the same token, just don't give them the bad things. Also tell them when they've done the right thing, because the thing is, you generalistically, when you're hearing things, you only hear things when they hit the fan, right? But how often when's the last time you actually went out and praise CIG, or even in your own life? Like, do you tell your kids they've done a good job, or do you only tell them off all the time? It's the same thing. Like, generalistically, we don't praise people enough. It's just a human condition. You can go look it up psychologically. We just don't do it. You only ever hear from people when something's going wrong.
True.
So,
like as a teacher,
yeah,
you know, I'll hear things about our students 9 times out of 10 when they do something wrong.
yeah.
Very rarely do you hear people comment on the school or the students when they've done something right.
Yeah.
And it's just the way people are. Oh, they've done something wrong, we'll complain.
So yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, moving right along. Snipe Cool Bunny says during the rapid fire question segment, it was said that the next major manufacturers would be Misk and Drake. What are your thoughts on what needs to be done to bring it tuning and repair?
So makes a statement, then asks a question completely not about the statement.
Yeah, I'm confused on that as well. I'm
So the
how
real
does that
question
relate to...
is, what are your thoughts on the needs done to bring tuning and repair? I think repair comes after base building. It's just the reverse, and salvage is tied in there too. So they're all going to have, again, that's why I think the misfortune is in there, because you can clearly see they're all integrated. Repair, salvage, and base building are all very similar.
Yeah. I was trying to think how you could link the Misk and Drake in there, I suppose, that, but yeah, I can't. I can't see how Misk and Drake fit in with that
Salvage
question,
with Drake and salvage with Misk, and there's no repair yet, but I get where he's going. Yeah.
So I could see that, but yeah. But yeah, I think time. I think repair and needs to come in before tuning, and then once they get that in, we'll get the fine tuning of components and stuff.
Yeah, tuning is going to be more along, like, further down the line. Like, it's the only thing that really does tuning at the moment is the Endeavor. There's probably another ship for that, but you've got to actually have the item before you can even tune it. So it's a lot for, and if you think about that, you're going to want items for everything. So tuning is way further down the line.
Yeah, that's adding the blades and everything else to it, and tuning them and overclocking them, and that's way down the track.
But also, okay. Or you think of tuning like that? I was thinking tuning more like the making the modifications and stuff. But maybe I'm wrong. No, but tuning would be more like engineering, would it not?
Yeah, it's tied in with. It's definitely tied in with engineering.
Yeah. Okay.
It's definitely tied in with overclocking, because that's what certainly the Endeavor's super collider was for use it for overclocking the devices and components. But in some sense, tuning can even be, like, for a racing ship. Tuning is also getting the right fuel in a certain way. So, but I think repair definitely needs to come in, and that. And what do we need for repair to be perfect? Repair ships. So.
All right, next question. Varus Paytona says. Varus Paytona almost sounds like Daytonas for some reason, or Daytona.
I was thinking platypus, but
Yeah, what content would you like to see added in space? It seems like they're focusing on planets, but we have all this space and nothing really to do in it. Conflicting zones from ED come to mind. I think a lot more will happen once scanning is in. You'll be able to find things. You know, you can essentially have procedurally generated stuff if you wanted to that just turns up like a wrecked ship or whatever. A cart before the horse problem, I think that really is.
Yeah. No, I think I'd agree with that. I can remember them talking about having things like, a comet appear or ship out passing through an old wreck.
Yeah.
But I also remember in one of the ICs at the end of the year where Disco was talking about all the places of interest. And it was like thousands and hundreds of places of interest in each system. So it might feel shallow, but it's actually quite deep. It's just we can't find them all. So scanning.
Red Marine says, do you think we'll ever get back to the ability to shut down power to specific weapons in fighters? Example, shutting down the size of guns on the glaive for power to the 6.5. Yeah, eventually. It's just the cart before the horse. We're in that. Same with master modes. It's the retuning the flight model stuff. It's a thing that's in flux at the moment. You just got to give them time. Many spinning plates right now.
And a lot of those questions also come down to balance as well. And balance is going to be one of the last, as we've always said, it'll be one of the last things that get done. But Stove S. What gameplay loop do you want to see added, and what loop do you want to see improved next year? Scanning and exploration.
Well,
For me.
what I hope for is I could just pick one, but yeah, scanning would be the big one for me. Scanning literally brings a lot of the other gameplay that's already there to a basic functional state of that core gameplay loop of I have something I need to protect because that other guy's trying to steal it, and that just goes around and around and around like that. So you need that to complete the core gameplay loop.
Right.
Once you have that, everything else comes off that.
You look at it in terms of bounty hunting, you use scanning to find your target. You use mining, you use it to better find the materials. For exploration, using it to find sites of interest. You pick the gameplay loop we've got at the moment and put scanning in, and it's just going to enhance your ability to do that.
You pick the big one. You miss the big one though.
What's
Piracy. Piracy.
Yeah, you talked about it. You
Yeah.
kind of hinted at it already, so I didn't need to.
But it is a big part of it. Like
It is.
you need that other shadow gameplay or reverse gameplay to again, and salvage will fall into that. There will be illegal mining piracy. It'll be illegal mining medical. You're gonna need your crazy scientist doctor guy to heal the bad guys too, so to speak, if you call them bad guys, but you know what I mean.
But if you need to protect against people who can now scan you and find you, that's because you've got the pirates or your enemies coming to get what you've got. So, but all of those, every gameplay loop you can think of, when scanning comes in, it's just going to enhance that gameplay.
Yep.
So,
escorts are going to be very much a thing, and they're just not at the moment. And it's again that is going to be a huge fundamental change. You know.
Yeah.
No,
I fully agree with that. Yeah. Robert Parker, do you want to see more aliens and alien ships in the future?
Yes, but I think we'll get them with the expansion packs mostly.
Now, while CIG have not specifically said there will be expansion packs for aliens, we personally believe that will be where CIG will go.
That is
if a game succeeds.
Though, however, they have signaled that as their intent. To expand into other alien characters, and they said they eventually want to get them in game and stuff like that, and even playable if they can get to that stage. Again, it depends how far the game goes successfully, isn't it?
And people have talked about playable alien races, and I could see if they bring in playable alien races, and this is CIG talking, they'd like to see that type of thing.
Yeah. If
they bring in playable alien races, I can see that's where you see an expansion pack. So we're not talking through our hats, but there is a bit of speculation, but it's not just rampant.
Again, Algared, you have a very remarkable skill to make things way more complicated than they need to be. I don't know how you do it, but you do it every bloody time. It still amazes me to this day how you can take something so simple and just make it really complicated. I try to simplify it, and then you just go.
Yeah. Some people like the more complex answer. Anyway, Aurelius Indomitus has a question. Will the Orion still be fun gameplay? I hope.
I think every ship in the game will be fun. We often talked about way back in the day is that a lot of the profession starters had to have not. How do I put this? And you kind of look at the prospect, and it's a little bit like that. It's got to be able to do all the different mining things, but none of them really, really well. So you can get a taste of it and then kind of learn what you want to do. And the Arastra is no different in that regard. It can do a little bit of everything, but it can't do what the Orion does as well. And it's the same, you can see the progression. There has to be a form of progression. And, just realistically, take your gameplay hat off, right? And I'm actually going to strip the gameplays off it as well. So just say you've got different sizes of ship, right? What motivation do you possibly have to go to the biggest ship in the game if it is not somehow better than the ship before it, and the one before that, and the one before that?
Yeah.
So it's just natural. What we're saying about this whole earn down economy and the fact that people turn about with Looney Tunes, no, it's really obvious, basic stuff. So when you strip back any game to its fundamental, the thing that's at the end of the progression is going to be better than the thing at all the steps the way along. It's just basics. This is not rocket science.
Now, the other thing with that, to tack on to Indominus' question, is that for some people, the Orion will not be fun gameplay because it'll be mining and they don't like mining.
Absolutely. I agree with
But for people who like mining, that will be the jam.
Yeah.
And so,
and then and by the same token, there'll be people that prefer what the Erastra offers because it's got multiple different types of gameplay and not just the cracking of the big rocks and stuff. So again, no ship is going to be perfect for everyone. Well said, Algared. Well said. I do agree with you on that one. You have a real talent for taking things and making them more complicated, Star Citizen.
thank you, SA, for taking that quote.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, SA. Sort of a bitch. I love you, mate.
Yete.
Right.
Yete has a question. Will there be a CitizenCon next year?
So, the last we heard, and I would take it from a fairly strong source, would you not, Algared?
Mm-hmm.
Remember, in the Spectrum, they had stuff on the World Tour.
Yep.
And the last thing we heard was that the World Tour is still on, and that means that CitizenCon might be off. And until we actually hear from the horse's mouth, I would always take it with a grain of salt. But the last we heard is that there is no CitizenCon next year. So I have to wait and see.
I just, unless you hear it officially from CIG, take it as rumor. That was what I was told about crunch time for the patch, for the 4.0 patch. People were saying it was in they were in crunch.
Yeah.
And a couple of devs told me, if CIG haven't said we're in crunch time, it's just rumor. And I think that's the same with this.
Yeah. Wait till we
What
hear it
we
from the
hear
horse's
is-
mouth, but
What we're hearing is because of the World Tour, it may not be. But yeah, we'll find out in March or whenever when CIG announce it.
But you know who we heard it from, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, right. All right. Chris E says, do you think they are holding back any ships, i.e. the TAC, for the proper release? No, I think they're still building the TAC for the proper 4.0 release. Yeah, I do. I think they're holding the build back. They never sold a CCU for it. You know, why did they sell a CCU for the TAC and that's not coming out more than likely to Invictus? Why was there not one for the TAC? Sorry, for the build. That's really weird to me. And we know that they built the ship around the build. I think the intent was to release a part of base building with 4.0, and they cut it out because they didn't have time.
It wasn't ready.
And it wasn't ready. The fact that there was never a CCU sold tells me that it was planned to release sooner rather than later. And then, where is it? It's just a weird conundrum. We've never heard about a ship and it not been sold before.
Yeah.
Ever. Right? And I mean that in the terms of like that thing was essentially in game, ready to kind of go, but we know they're holding it back because they want the functionality of base building. So that means it was meant to come sooner rather than later.
Yep. The only other ship I can recall them ever almost doing a full page description of and telling us about the ship and then not selling or doing anything with was the Pegasus. The Pegasus light carrier.
Yeah, I know what it is, but I don't remember them ever talking about the Pegasus like that, but okay.
But it's the only ship I can recall them talking about where they put it up and talked about it, but never sold. But the intent, from my memory, was it was never intended to be sold anyway. But other than that, yeah, you're 100% right.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one because I don't even remember reading anything about the Pegasus, so it must have been a very long time ago. It
was a long time ago, and I can remember thinking, yes, I want that. I'll get rid of a Javelin for that. Was what I remember thinking at the time.
Warring Crow says, any speculation on how the Aegis Nautilus may complement base building in Org space stations? The concept is so old, but maybe room. Well, you could definitely protect the space station with it, with turrets around it. You could definitely put turrets above the base, so at least there's things they've got to avoid. But I don't imagine mine's just going to float in the air. So it's more of a space ship, not a atmospheric ship.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. I suck at this as a question.
Yeah, we know you suck at this, Algared. What's the point? Come on, read the question.
What gameplay loop do you want to see added, and what gameplay do you want to see improved this year?
Scanning. I think we said that already, yeah.
Yeah, we have had that. Different person, but yeah.
Hey, well, at least he admitted he sucks at asking questions. Like he knows.
Unless the first question came from YouTube and his
Well, technically
other account.
technically he did ask it from Twitch, so yeah, you probably didn't see the YouTube one. Yep, go ahead.
Matt Hoopt says, do you think the Starlancer build is finished and are they waiting for crafting?
I think we just kind of answered that, but yes.
Yep. Walter Huck. So go on.
No, I'm good.
Walter Huck, supposedly military grade A components were locked behind reputation. CIG stated it might be. Do you lads know anything about this? It is currently only in contested zones.
Yeah, well, they put them in the contested zones to force people to go play the gameplay they wanted tested. They do it every time. It's like, shut up. Right.
Siri. Gotta love Siri.
It's not Siri. Why would I have a shitty crapple product? Google. Right.
Oh, well, just as bad.
Yep. I've lost what I was up to.
No, you were talking about how CIG put the
stick.
gameplay loops in
Carrot
that
and
they want tested.
Yeah, that carrot and stick. They always basically do something to motivate to get you to try the new thing. And that's all this is. It's just that they moved all the components there to try and force you into the contested zones. They're trying to force gameplay. And some people will not want to play it.
Yep.
Especially when it's a drastic change, like it's a ship game predominantly, and you're forcing them into FPS combat. My first thought when I saw the contested zones is they missed a real opportunity with this. I said, like, and I've said this, I think it's like the third or fourth time I've said this now, is if you'd made it so there was two bases, opposing factions, opposite side of a moon, and then a base, say on the North Pole or somewhere that's, same distance from both space stations, and then you have to get into vehicles to get into the space station, and then you go into FPS combat, that would have been way better. Because you've got all those combined arms, so it would have been ships, vehicles, and for FPS. Now, at the moment, it's just FPS.
It's just FPS. And by doing the need to fly the ships and combat the ships, you're actually tying into everyone's preferred gameplay loop. Yep, I can see that. Joseph Pasquetta says, with multi-crew ships or multi-crew gameplay, do you think the Endeavour will still be a good option? I read about crew not to have much to do. It'll fit some people like a glove, but it's not for everybody. Yep, 100%. Every ship's in that category. Some ships will be for Group A, Group B. The multi-crew gameplay in the Endeavour, though, is
it's utilitarian. It's not combat. So again, like, here's the other thing, right? How do you know you like a gameplay when it hasn't even been roughly created? How do you even know? Let's go take a step back.
How do you know you like engineering?
How do you know you're going to like the final mining? We're only in the infancy of mining, right? Like you can get a rough direction of where it's going to go. You get the rough feeling of what it's like to be a farmer or be a combat pilot. It's not going to be exactly like real life. It's just a feeling of. It's a game, right? So when they say science, exploration, whatever, all you've ever had to go on up into this time is the feeling. And I'm going to be honest, once the game comes out, I am sure there are going to be professions me and Algared do not like.
Yeah.
But it has to be that way to be a game that the most people enjoy. And guess what? You're going to be grateful for the people that do play that gameplay that you hate. Because at some point, you'll need something that they do for yours.
The other thing with the Endeavour is because the Endeavour is such a Swiss Army knife. When you look at the components, I still don't know how they're going to do it. Whether they're going to do the variants or whether they're going to do the modules. I think I'm leaning more towards variants for the specifics. And each of those are going to be different. Each of those are going to have different gameplay loops and different roles and different, I imagine, different crew count. So, yeah, it certainly is a ship that will fit some like a glove, and others it just won't. But that's going to be every ship. But yeah, it's going to be a bigger ship.
All right, Truther says, you guys think CIG will revisit stations and landing zones instead, upgrading the layouts and traversing? Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Just on the vegetation alone, not even to mention wildlife and all that type of stuff. Like, absolutely.
I just think of every MMO game I've ever played.
Yeah. They obviously have to be at a place where they're happy now, though, that they can kind of just update a lot of stuff. They don't have to redo from scratch.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, like, they can, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
They don't
they
have
can
to go to
change the look of a building, but you don't have to rip out the whole building and start again.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
you can essentially just put it around the building that you have. You don't have to, you know, like landing zones. Landing zones are a lot more bespoke, for example. So yeah. Right. Wearing Pro says, any thoughts on how the Aegis? We already did that one. He asked it a second time. You sort of a bitch. Right. Destroy says, could Execute not be bothered to come up with a title this week? Pretty much. I get sick of making them. No, I think about them. Algared, I'll let you answer this. When's the last time you came up with a title?
Oh, ages ago.
So who gets certain with the burden of creativity between the two of us?
Oh, you do.
So just, yeah, yes, I do get a bit sick of it. Yes, I don't know. I gotta. Do you know how hard it is to try and think of something creative to draw people in? It is annoying. It is annoying. And I'd rather just say, hey, this is the Inforunners. We're doing a stream today. Turn up. It doesn't work that way. It don't work that way.
Clickbait doesn't work that way.
Yeah. You know?
So.
And we've all got little monkey brains that basically respond to certain words. So I just went, is it over? Question mark. Like, oh, what's over? You know? But no, it's just the end of the year. You know, that's it.
Yeah.
Simple. I do try to keep it somewhat truthful. I do. Honest. That's what it's for.
No, I saw the title. I thought, yeah, it's the end of the year.
Yeah.
Didn't need anything else. It wasn't clickbait for me. It was just like, yeah, the end of the year. But yeah, Destroy had a question for me on the YouTube. He says, what other MMOs do I play? At the moment, I'm just doing Star Citizen, but I've played and do occasionally play EverQuest.
It's doing a lot of IRL at the moment.
Yeah, too much real life. But Dark Age of Camelot, EverQuest or Evercrack, Star Wars: The Old Republic. I did play Life is Feudal. Did
you turn on the aircon by chance?
No.
I've got a fan all of a sudden. You didn't have a fan earlier. I got a fan now. Just letting you know.
Okay. The joys of life.
It's alright. Just letting you know. A Sigma says, taking in mind that we know of the Endeavour and the recent changes to the game, what do you guys estimate will be the crew requirements of that ship? Oh, that's a huge ask. What variant of it is it too? The hospital's probably going to need more people than, say, you know, the science and research modules. I think if you're talking about the basic level ship, not that many. It's just a hab that detaches, right? Indeed. So, you know, I'd see that, I don't know, 5 to 6. Like, I just don't really see that much more. But then as soon as you change the modules, the whole crew changes. It's yeah. And I honestly have to think about, as the modules of those ships go in, I think they'll have components themselves. It's the only way it's going to work.
Yeah.
How do you change the crew requirements? And that means it's got to have components to change the life support and stuff like that.
Well, one of those modules for the Endeavour was additional crew quarters.
Yep.
Like, that was the module itself. So.
Yep. All right. Victor Hall says, what do you think will be the first feature discussed once Sarge comes back from the break? It's always audio, dude. Didn't you know that? It's all...
Yeah. Well,
if I see another audio team on as the first one off the rank, I gotta kill someone. No, I think they did audio towards the end of last year.
Yeah. But they'll do their
the meeting stuff, yeah.
Their meetings and their reviews of what's going on, and then that'll be at those meetings they'll determine what they're doing for the next 18 months or so.
Actually, look, you can probably almost work out when the first one will be. So if it's Friday, they're back on the Monday, and then it comes out on so probably the 10th of January. Our time, which will be the 9th in the up over, is probably when we'll see the first ISC type of thing, if they do an ISC straight off the cab. Yeah. Sometimes they delay it to the end of the month because they need time to make them. So that's the other thing. Like, we did that survey with the ISCs. I don't give a shit about the quality of what the videos look like. It's the information. It's just like us. Like, we don't do these massive pre-prepared videos because it just takes too long. And
we're lazy.
Well, it's just lazy. It's just
Well, it also takes time.
I'd rather put information in the video than than basically like have a 10-minute video to say one sentence, right?
Mm.
And I feel a lot of videos on YouTube are very much full of fluff. I'm finding myself watching less and less videos, or I get to the crux of it and I'll talk about the part that I wanted to hear, and then I hear it, and then I'm like, and now you're going into something else. And how many videos do you see that where they pull you in with one thing, and then they talk about the history of that thing for half the bloody video before getting what you actually wanted to know? Or you see it the other way. They pull you in and they show you what you want to know, and then they try and hook you and keep you there.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I'd rather just talk about it. Anyway. Bowler with lots of nines says, have we heard anything about the whip crabs that supposedly live on Pyro? Not for a while.
No.
And we haven't seen a 3D model or anything like that. You tell me if I'm wrong here, right? Same thing with the the arboreal stalker. I think they're more big game hunting creatures.
Yeah.
I think that might be a little further off when other things are coming. What do you think?
No, I think that's certainly when they'll come in. We'll get the small predators first. They're the apex predators, and they're the ones that are going to chew us up and
I think it's
be
also
like a
tied
boss
to,
mob for us to take down.
I also think it's tied to gameplay as well, though. Like, you know, big game hunting, you know, they're going to need to be a bunch of different things in before you can do cooking.
Yeah.
Cooking's a bit hard one because you're going to need animals and you need the plants. So
now, here's the question I just thought of based on thinking that. Apex predators, the arboreal stalker, the whip crab, the big flying dragon, whatever thing they've got. How do they rate against the worm? Because we know they talked about the worms and the different ratings of the worm, and I think we'll see arboreal stalkers and others have that same type of thing as well.
That's probably what's happened now, Algared, was they realized, how the hell do we populate all these worlds with creatures? We need to make variants of the creatures, just like they do the variants of the ships. It was pretty obvious to me when I saw it. I'm like, I'm not surprised by this. The thing that really surprised me was how they were 3D different variants.
Yeah.
Right? Because in most games, it's just a color difference. Look at World of Warcraft. You can take the mount as an example. They have like the raptor, and there's like 15 different colors of the raptor mount. Right? It's the same thing. But in this game, they are literally 3D modeling them different, and they'll even probably go as far as having AI differences as well. Like the one in the dark isn't going to be able to see you, but the one on the surface can see you. And I'm talking about the Vakar here, obviously. But you get my point. Or one has a stronger smell of scent, you know, rather than vision and stuff like that. So that's all going to be really interesting gameplay, that they have different AI things. And again, that's just little number changes in code. So that's pretty easy to do. As long as the person coding it knows what they're doing. But yeah, it is pretty simple to do.
But it changes the game mechanic. So, you know, and it changes the way you fight that beast or hunt that beast.
So the last picture we had of the whip crab was, it was essentially in a snowy environment. What happens then when you put them on a dust planet? You know, how do they change? Did they lose the whips and all of a sudden they become fire based? I don't know, I'm making shit up as I go along here as I say it, but you get my point, right? Do you put them on a muddy planet or a stone planet, and they get like more spikes because they essentially, you know, blend in with stones and stuff like that. You can see where it's going to go pretty quickly. And again, the whip crab is probably just that version of it. The other guy's called the fire crab, and the other guy called the spiky barnacle. I don't know. You get my point, right? I think that is where they're going, Algared.
Yeah, Monster Hunter. Woohoo! Bring it on. Yeah,
absolutely. I think Monster Hunting. They're looking at it. How many times have we seen them copy other games? You know, I've seen them. The myriad of games I can list out already as long as my arm. Grabbing Monster Hunter and pulling it in, that's of course they're going to do that.
I just think back to a 10th of the chairman. It would have been 2015, maybe 2016, and Chris was talking about the games that he was taking ideas from, and he mentioned, you know, Guild Wars and the way they did their quests, and the boss would spawn, and anyone in the area could go to that boss and fight it. And he liked, you know, and he talked half a dozen games that he liked the ideas on and was taking it.
Battlefield's another one he mentioned quite a bit. So, I remember.
And I think that just speaks into what we're talking about. He's going to pull in all the good things he's seen in other games. He's going to draw on it and use, and because he's a gamer and he plays those games and, oh yeah, I like that. I'll use that idea.
Right, I've cut the bot off. We've still got over a page of questions.
Yep. The 75th Soul says, with the planned release of Squadron 42 in 2026, do you think we can see 5.0, 6.0, or possibly a 1.0 open beta release within a year?
I still think the plan is to have 1.0 for 2026. I think that is the plan. They want a basic level Star Citizen to go alongside the release so they can onboard people from Squadron to Star Citizen. Yep. And as we said earlier, I think they need to link those games together a lot better. For us that follow it, it's a night and day. And there's often that problem of being in the game and then being outsider and not being able to connect dots because you don't know the dots even exist.
Yep.
So yeah.
No, 100%. Sandgroper, have you been surprised at how stable the servers are for 4.0 and server meshing?
No, because I was in the Evocati and I understood what was happening. So that's the other thing. We had a lot of people going, oh, the game's not ready for release, not ready for release. And when it came out, they said, oh, it was because the missions weren't ready. It had actually nothing to do. Because every time I've been in Evocati or PTU, it always gets worse, as in doesn't run as well just before it comes out, because what they're doing is they're testing it to see what the limits are so they can turn and adjust those dials to get it a lot better. So I'm like, and every time you hear them going, oh, it's running like shit, and they don't understand why. And I know why, because I used to do it. And it's because you're trying to find where that sweet spot is so it runs the best.
Yep.
And every time a patch comes out, it's running smoother than the last. So I knew it was going to be fine. Right? And there were days like about a week before it came out, it was running really, really well, which is what's happening right now. It's running really, really well. And then it went all to shit, and that's when you hear all those complaints. Because again, they don't know how the cow. What do you call that? They don't know how the product is made or whatever.
Yeah. This is related to that, what you were saying, because Matt Hoop says, now that Squadron 42 is in polish mode and there are over 1,000 employees, will we see more progress in the PTU?
I think it's a bit more linked to server meshing personally. I think like if you're going to build something, the foundation has to be finished before you really start building. And because we don't have the server meshing for the multiplayer part, until that's really knocked out and they're happy with where it's at, and they're knowing that they don't want to have to come back and pull the leg off the table and try and hold the table up while they put a new leg in. They just want to have the legs there, and then they can reinforce the legs and make the legs stronger, but they don't ever want to have to pull a leg out and put a new one in. Right? Yep. And that's kind of where at the moment, because we've got the static server meshing, they need to get the dynamic working until they're absolutely happy. Because if they make something for static server meshing, it's not necessarily going to work for dynamic. So it's a cart before the horse problem again. But that said, a lot of the stuff is planned, and that whole breaking of the dam analogy is 100% on point. We got told that by multiple CID devs. One of the other devs called it, what they call it, the silver bullet. Things like that. So we're not wrong in what we've said about that all these years. And anyone that doesn't understand that is, like I said before, there's a lot of them that just don't understand game development.
I think I heard that type of phrase from Aaron right down to the office. You know, someone way down the chain. It was just
look, a lot's changed.
The number of times you heard it.
Yeah, it was a lot. Look, look, a lot's changed in game development since I stopped doing it. But there's just as much that has stayed the same, right? And so when I come out and I make a claim that sounds like I'm a crazy lunatic, it's generally coming from either I'm speculating out my ass when I'm hoping for something, and I'll tell you I'm speculating when I speculate. But when I also say, what did you used to call it, Algared? Put it on your developer hat. Yeah. He used to get really annoyed at me doing it. Right, because I'd say, sorry, Algared, you're completely wrong. It won't work that way. And he used to get really annoyed because I'd shut him down with my, it was development hat, he used to say. But by the same token, he now, I don't know, I've just noticed you seem to appreciate it a lot more than you used to hate it. Because you now understand it more than you don't understand it. You know what I mean? As time has gone by is what I'm saying. I'm talking over like the whole time you and I've been doing this, right? You understand a lot more about how it works, so you've kind of now understood there's still a lot of things you don't know, right? And it's the same.
Look, I've always known there's elements in development, but I don't know.
I'm saying I'm giving you a compliment. Fucking take it. He's got better, boys. Is what I'm trying to say. Yeah,
but I'll also say you've also become more appreciative of the law as
I-
time's gone on as well.
I've become more appreciative of the things I don't know as well. And I mean that in like a really good example is SA and the military boys. Like there was so much that I didn't know about how their world worked and all that. And that's anyone I talk to. Like, so whether we have someone coming in and they're talking about mining or that's why I did that whole professional point of view series, because that was me just having this eye-opening moment going, man, I live this sheltered life. No, everyone lives a sheltered life to a certain degree, right? But I just realized there was all this shit outside my bubble that I needed to learn about this game, and that's why I went and I also learned, because I have this development background, I could take it and apply it to things that they knew, and it taught me more about the game. And at that point, Algared, you and I were what, I think probably 8 years in at that point, and I was starved for new shit, and I was getting new shit from these people just because they thought differently to me.
I think one of the big ones was well, we had the geologists on, and we were looking at the maps when Tony Z was talking about the way mining or the way resources were.
Yeah.
And they were showing the map, and the geologist went, "Oh, that's just like in real life."
Yeah, well, when
like,
they were flying me around Selin and showing me all the different volcano things, that was a good one.
Moosebeard, welcome to basic membership on YouTube. Thank you.
Nice to see you, Moosebeard.
Always nice to see. But yeah.
Okay. No, I'm just visualizing that wet moose beard, and you like. Yeah. Right. Google Superstar. Is Star System 2 already on the horizon, or as wholly solution for this messy piece of crap? Wow. That's how you really feel. No, they've kind of said Star System will not kind of end. It'll just keep being made and updated. So I think I'll leave it there.
Yep.
Right. Razalinto. With the way caves are now, would it be better to have a Grey Cat rock-sized mining ship, but the size of a Fury, so it can go through those crazy caves? I think they're designing different things for different sizes. So essentially, there'll be smaller ships that can get into caves, but then you will have to go down a size. Again, it's a very easy way to make it so there's something for every size of vehicle and ship to do. You limit it, well, like the Orion, how it can't go to the planet, gives a thing for the Arastra, but then all of a sudden, how do you give something for the mole over the Arastra? Well, then maybe there's a cave it can go into that the Arastras can't. See where I'm going? Yeah.
Yep. And it also gives different gameplay that appeals to different people. So some people would love that, other people would hate it.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely.
Steve Burrows, what would you say has been one thing that CIG nailed in 2024? What would be the one thing they would say they must nail in 2025?
Dynamic server meshing and scanning. They are the two up there ones for me. And I know we sound like a broken record at this point, but they are very important.
Yeah, and I think the thing they nailed in 2024 would be, I think the jump point seems to be the thing they've nailed. Everyone loves it. It looks great.
Static server meshing's there too.
Yep.
I think that's a very important step.
And I need a static server machine to get
well, it's not enough
jump points working, but
we've got 5 times as many people on the servers. That's a pretty big jump. And that's just going to static. What's going to happen when we get to dynamic? You know, like, that's awesome. Like, I'm sorry, but it's all progress. And as long as there's progress, I'm happy. And good things do take time. And you got to realize how big this game is compared to most games. You know, GTA 6 is a big game. You got nothing compared to what this is going to be when it's done. Right, when this is, and if it, and I guess it'll never kind of really be done, but like at some point it'll eclipse Grand Theft Auto and Grand Theft Auto 5. Yep. You know,
not 100% agree. Phalanx says, any thoughts on municipal works, ArcCorp, distribution centers, Siege? They appear to differ from Pyro, CG. Do you feel they will be co-op, PvE, PvP, both? Will the community embrace or decry them?
I think the last part's easy to answer. Different thing, different strokes for different folks. So that's kind of drops off a little bit because, you know, it's the same with the PvP and PvE. There'll be areas for both.
I got the impression from the municipal works at CitizenCon that they were PvP zones exactly like contested zones in ArcCorp. That was my impression. I could be wrong, but that was my impression.
Is Municipal Works an org or something? Am I not?
No, that was the downstairs section in Art Corp. You go downstairs and then you go the
Oh,
missions
the
and ticket games.
sewers. The
The
sewers.
sewers.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I think there'll be all types. I think. Look, again, looking at the gameplay they already have, that's why contested zones are in and they're a thing. And I think this is an expansion of contested zones. It's because it's a gameplay they already have,
Yep.
right? So it's easy for them to take it and expand it because they don't have to add new things to it, you know. But
Yep.
you add anything to that, combat medic, combat repair, a Titan suit. You can see how it expands very quickly too. So they can put it in place and then add to it later, right?
Yep.
That's essentially why it's going in now, because it can be modified and amended.
And it also adds to something that people can do. But yeah, I think in Stanton there'll be a mirror image. They won't be the same, but they'll be similar. You'll have the rebels on Hurston who are against the establishment. You'll have the dissatisfied whatever it is on ArtCorp. You'll have the hacking groups on Microtech. You'll have
Well, just seeing the contested zones inside the space station shows you how much space there are in those space stations. So yeah.
And imagine what it's like underneath a city. So yeah.
And all of a sudden you spawn an asteroid base and there's a whole nother zone.
Yep.
Or another municipal works.
And I remember, I think it was it Todd Pappy, I think? No. Can't remember who it was. But when they were talking about star bases, and Disco asked a question about whether we'd see cities, and the response was, well, basically a city is just a space station on a planet. The room system just means anything's possible.
Yep.
So
that's it.
So yeah. This is Hagrid says, any news on personal transport? Would love a Genesis and gameplay loop. Nope. Nothing to my knowledge at this point in time.
So in the files, the Zeus ST was there and the E1.
Oh, that's right.
But that doesn't say anything about when it's coming. It's just that it was there, but it shows that they're being kind of worked on.
Yeah.
So.
I had forgotten that, but yes.
Yep.
The Phalanx says, any thoughts on... Was that just answered that?
Yep.
Lazarus, is the freelancer Duo still getting its refinery?
Is it a refinery or just a air scoop thing? Oh, it was an air scoop thing, kind of like what Origin has on the 100 series.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember it being a refinery, but man, it's been a hot minute since I looked at the DIR, so...
Yeah, I thought it was a kind of a refinery, a bit like the air system on the 100 series, where it enhanced the ability to stay up, but again, that's all I can remember.
Again, if it's there, generously speaking, you're going to get it. They don't tend to cut things necessarily. It was like, the best example I can give you is the cutter on the Reclaimer. John Crew doesn't reckon the Reclaimer really needs it, but it was promised, so you'll most likely, more than likely, get something. Was words to that effect, is what he said. So,
in fact, he said, I would like it not to have it.
Yeah.
I'd like not to do it, but it will get something.
Yeah.
Was, I believe, what he said.
Yeah. So if they're promised, or not, I don't like to use the word promise, but if they've stated on the website that it's going to get it, because it's not a promise. It even says subject to change.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But even at that point, John Crew was, I would really like it not to get it. I don't want it to have it. I don't like it, but it will get something. If I remember his wording correctly, that was pretty close. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty close.
What ship should you use for a Freeman FPS Pyro group?
And that was from Ryan E.
And that was Ryan E.
3-man Pyro group. I think any of the medium ships would be pretty good. You probably want to go more towards something that's of the combat nature, so a Drake Cutlass would be good. The bounty hunting Zeus would be good once it gets the turrets, so that's not in yet. Misery would work with the missile gunboat. Anything that's kind of combat related would work in that turn of phrase.
Any ship that's got 3 positions, yeah.
Once scanning comes in, the smaller the better. So Pisces, no. Oh. I'm kidding, but yeah.
Anyway. Not cool, Bunny. Not cool, Bunny. Do you guys think they will do a rework of a Connie or make a new Mark 5?
I think you can jump in and look at the Polaris and see exactly what they're going to do with the Connie. They essentially, if you look at the Polaris, they essentially moved those 2 middle struts and just deleted them.
Yeah.
And if you did the same in the Connie, it'd be totally fine. Because they're the two struts that are in the way. So they'll just remove some of the struts, essentially.
Yeah. What am I making you Mark 5? If it was a choice doing a Mark 5, reworking the Mark 5 or doing Mark 6, I'd hope they'd just rework it. But yeah. But I think in terms of the view, they'll just get rid of some struts, I think.
Yeah. I don't know. It'll probably be somewhere in between the two, yeah. Realistically speaking.
Oh, look. You've already hinted that the Phoenix needs a rework anyway, like it to be broken off into a different class of ship.
I'd actually break the Phoenix and the Aquila off in that turn of phrase. Is what I would do. They're the two I think I would pull out and make them a separate
and make them more specialized in terms of what they're doing. Yeah.
Again, but I can see taking the essential window off the Aquila and putting that on the Phoenix.
Yeah,
is what I would have done.
Well, I remember when it came out, a lot of people thought that looked more. That was the one that looked more luxurious.
It was just again, it's just because it doesn't have all the struts and shit. But yeah.
Yep.
Anyway.
But yeah. So. Yeah. Anyway, Happy Rob, or Happy Arbob says, do you think the Liberator will get a major redesign due to the old metrics and the fact that the vehicle bay could bootleg be the mega cargo bay?
No, it's not. It came out. It never came out when the old metrics were around, so it would have been done to new metrics. No, I don't actually, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't think it was, like you said, I don't think it was new metrics. I don't even think it was done before they'd worked out the sizes for the components. So, I expect it was built with the space to put those things in. So, I can't see it needing a rework or a redesign.
Citizen Scott says, what letter grade would you give CIG for 2024? So you're the teacher, Algared. What letter grade would you put on the report
Well, you never give an A.
Never give an A.
Look.
You fucking old stooge you. No, fuck you. B plus, done. Yeah.
I'm always happy with generally what we end up getting. Even in, like, I used to think, I've said it a couple of times, I used to think Arena Commander was as good as games we were buying on Steam. Right, when it was out. I've held that view consistently. You know, if you just look at Arena Commander, it's still better than 90% of the games you're getting on Steam.
Yeah.
And every year, Star Citizen just gets better and better.
Yep.
They deliver on the big ticket items they continually say. So they score really well there. They do fall down at times, and their communication and contribution to classroom discussion could be developed. But generally, they're hardworking.
Yeah. So what would you give them? You still haven't given them a rating.
I've gone through the radio buttons and I've given them, high standard, needs development. And
what's the top one? Is it OA? Is the top one? He wants he wants A, B, C, D ratings. Just give him A, B, C.
I'll give him AAB, AACB, or AA. Basically, A's, C for community interaction.
Do you remember chat earlier when I said about saying something really simple and making it really complicated? Yeah. You are seeing it in real time. I said A, B, or C, or D. One, not multiples. One.
Yeah, depending on the aspect you're looking at.
One.
Oh, look, okay. Overall, I go an A. There you go.
I think for me it'd be a B plus. I think they tried really hard this year to get a lot of things done, but I don't think they quite succeeded.
No, they didn't they didn't reach everything they wanted, and sometimes their interaction with community,
which is why it's a B plus. They tried, but they didn't. They tried to reach for A, but they didn't make it to A. So that's why I'm giving them B plus.
There are other areas they succeeded. They did get their server meshing, static server meshing in. Yeah. So that's their
and they made a compromise there that I think was really good. They're like, we don't have the missions for live, but it's almost everything else is done. So here you go, you can try it. But if you want, if you're wanting to play for missions, there's all the missions back in the old version. That's really nice of them to do.
Yeah, no, I think that was well done, and so that's another reason why we're up.
Probably costed them $80,000 to keep the other live servers up. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Or more, because that's what back in 2014. That's how much they cost a month.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine now it's 10 times that. But anyway.
And by doing that, they also, I imagine, it relieves some of the pressure on the 4.0 servers, so it enables them to run more smoothly. But it also gives people that choice of where they want to play.
True.
So yeah,
Really?
no, I think they did it. I think they did an A job.
Yeah.
There's still room for improvement, but overall,
yeah. Riddick says, "Do you believe armor will be robust, both gameplay and visually similar to the Gladius demo, or just another bar of health?" I think they're gonna do it with textures and normal mapping. So you kind of see it with all the hexagons and stuff. I reckon they can just make the hexagons essentially look damaged and cracked and broken. I think I think it'll be a texture switch essentially, because you can see the Ares with the armor and without, and it's just a texture swap. So I think that's their intent.
Yep, sounds good to me.
Physicalized, if that's what you're asking, but it's just a texture.
Yeah. Riddick, with CIG removing cards like Fire from 4.0, will we see these cards replaced back in the 4.0 X patch?
Almost definitely. They usually come the patch after, don't they?
Yeah. And will it be more the same of dangling the carrot?
Will it be more the same? I don't get the last. I know we talked about the carrot before. What in reference to what? To keep us playing? I don't get the context there, Riddick. Sorry. So if you're in chat, chuck in your context.
Yeah, chuck in the context as to what you mean by that aspect. I'm currently reading. Okay, so we talked about the carrot being they put the thing in the area where we want the components or whatever in the area where they're trying to test.
Oh yeah, okay.
When you put fire in, how are they going to encourage us to go fight the fire? Well, fire will be on our ships. That'll be one reason why we want to put out the fire.
Well, that alone, your ships won't just explode anymore; they'll catch on fire, and so you're gonna have to get up and put them out. Like that time to kill is gonna go up. It's gonna change the whole way you fight.
Yep.
Once time to kill goes up, this is the other thing with the master modes people carrying on like pork chops. Until like how if you're going to a time to disable, not a time to kill, that drastically changes the game.
Yep. I did a mission. Did one of the Idra's missions, and I had a lowly little Connie, and we got hit. We got soft defed. So we abandoned ship.
Real quickly, just to let you guys know, I've turned off the question bot, so anyone that put questions in is not coming through again. But to answer your question very quickly, Viking, base building was told to us by devs to be coming sooner rather than later. Quick version to answer your question, but yeah, he's first person to ask the question in ages. Right, we're up to? What's the next one, Andrew?
Weepy.
Yeah, go for it.
Weepy Sleeper says, will the Reclaimer get its cool clawback? I hate the current more.
I don't think it's going to get the old claw back because that's a physically upgraded asset.
Yeah.
But I think it will definitely get a lot more functionality that's got it right now. I think
yeah.
a part of the eating will be the claw grabbing. That's why it's got like a little, if you look, it's got like a little grinder thing on it. I think that's what it's going to do. It's going to hold and
crunch it in. And
yeah.
I think we'll see a lot less of the old big claw type mechanics. And I think we'll see more that automated lasery type stuff because it's easier for them to implement.
We'll just have to wait and see how that shakes out. Yeah.
And I think that'll be that. When I say that, I'm thinking things like the Crucible and the Orion and ships along that line. I think there'll be changes in the way they work just to make it easier. I could be wrong.
Lieutenant Dante says, "Hi guys, big fan of Algared's waistcoats. Better be careful, Algared. It might end up on his floor. What is in your mind the best ship for industrial fleet escorts?" Who's the best ship for industrial fleet escorts?
And what you're using as your industrial fleet.
How far are you going as well? I think the top two up there at the moment would have to be Redeemer, Paladin. But then as soon as you get to bigger ships, the size increases as well. So what is the size of the ship? Actually say that. He says best ships for industrial fleet. What's a fleet? Yeah, again, you could go Polaris, Perseus, Nautilus.
We've talked in the past, Nautilus having value in those types of positions. If you're there in a position for a long time, and having a Nautilus with its mines out becomes an advantage.
It really changes depending on what the fleet composition is too. That's the best thing about the game. There is no ship that'll just be able to do everything. There's a best for that role at that time. That's a really hard question to answer, mate. I think what you're
Yeah.
trying to ask, and you tell me if I'm thinking I'm wrong here, Algared, but what is the best generalist? That's how I read that question. What is the best generalist to cover an industrial fleet? And when I look at it like that, again, I tend to lead to. Lawrence, thank you, Orlet, for that $2 super chat.
Yep. I was just about to do that, but yeah, I
know.
think you're right.
Do you know how I know?
Depends
Because
on...
your head does this. Like this, like a blue or green line comes up on the screen, and Algared just goes.
Yeah.
When there's an effect, he just looks off to one side. Oh, he's seen the super chat.
Yeah. No, I see the super chat on the front of the screen, but it's too small, so I look to the side where I can read who it's from, so I can respond.
Yeah, I get you.
But
yeah, the point still stands. I don't think there is a perfect generalist either. I think things like, it's such a hard question to answer because it's like there's so many moving targets. Which one do I shoot? Well, it's clearly the closest one. But then the closest one, what ship is it closest to? As in, like, are you doing mining? Are you doing salvage? Are you capital? Are you smaller? Like, is your fleet made up of all small ships? Is your fleet made up of all big ships? Like, I can't just go that one.
Yeah. And then when it's a big ship, are you taking out, what's being targeted? Are they targeting the mining head, the lasers,
I think a simple one would be, let's say we talked about the Orion before, and we also talked about the Nautilus. That's a good combo because the Orion would generalistically be in the same spot for a very long length of time. The Nautilus can go out as an example and set up sentry turrets and even possibly make a minefield to just restrict people coming there to annoy the Orion.
Yeah. And then, if you've got a choice, if you're looking at target and you've got Orion behind a minefield with a Nautilus or even a Polaris sitting there, and you've got a few small ships mining without any big defenses, you go for the easiest target.
Same type thing though. If you took the Arastra is going to be moving a lot more frequently, so a Nautilus doesn't become good, right?
Yep.
So you're moving a lot more frequently, so you need to have combat ships that move with it. I'm just trying to give you an example so you can help yourself. But if you really want that question answered in more detail, reach out or talk to some of the people on the Discord. Because that's a moving target, that one.
Right, there's a fix my fleet or fix my fleets or
type of question.
However you want to look at it.
Yeah.
It really is a more nuanced than it just appears on the surface.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the current state of drone vehicles? Currently, there's just no reason to have them. Yep.
Absolutely agree. Kind of like what I said before, if they'd made that objective like the way I said, instead of contested zones, you would have a reason to use them. But even right now, like you just have an A2 come along and it bombs the shit out of it. So until we can have some kind of defense that stops bigger bombs or... it's cart for the horse problem. They're all going to have their place. They've obviously got some kind of plan worked out that they haven't detailed and shared with us, but eventually they will have their place.
Absolutely. Mark Flat, when will Maelstrom be fully implemented? It seems to be essential for engineering, crafting, and repair.
I could just be a dick and go, it's this far away.
Yeah.
Again, I think it'll come in stages. I think every gameplay in the game can have some form of Maelstrom if it's physicalized. Like I can make one up in my head. Could you have it so that components literally break into pieces when they are broken? And you got to pick them up and put them back together. We've seen the footage, obviously, the Gladius crashing into buildings and base building breaking apart. So I would probably say the first form of it we would see, if I really think about it, would be going in line with the base building and the salvage that we talked about, Aaron. Would you think possibly the first?
Yeah. I could see it coming in with base building. We've seen elements where they've broken the buildings.
Yeah. But
so it seems...
Yeah, I think
it seems to make sense.
Yeah, I think it will be it'll come when that gameplay is ready to have it, and I think it'll come in different pieces. Because like you can obviously put a model in, and then later when you bring a model in and then it breaks into pieces, they're two separate things. So they're not actually conjoined. So you can bring in different Maelstrom pieces in at different times.
Yeah,
is the way I see it.
Citizen Ninja has a question. Which ship will get the Red Festival red paint this year? With the pig zodiac symbol.
Ooh, they usually do Starships.
And then they said, I think 2955 is the year of the pig.
Yeah. So I think the Intrepid would be a fairly safe bet because it's a starter ship and it's a new one. and they tend to do a lot of those. I'd also look at the other ships that came out last year, Guardian, you know, things like that. Just any of the ships that came out last year, they tend to go back and do skins for them. So
I would I would put forward both the Starfarer and the Cup, because the Starfarer still flies like a fat wallowing pig, and the one for the Cutlass, it cries back to when it did fly like a wallowing sow. So, but
yeah, yeah.
that would be my
It's a bit of a mix. It is generally a
reasons.
bit of a mix, the ones that get skins, isn't it? So yeah, I can see
But
those.
any of the new ships, but it's whatever CIG decide and want.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be my reasoning for those ones. I'd pick a ship that flies like a wallowing sow and give it the pig skin. They'll bring out a football shaped ship called the pig skin. Yeah.
All right.
BMT.
Yeah, go for it. You go.
BMT2 2033 says, how many systems do you think they will realistically add post 1.0? Let's see. Well, post 1.0 will be 5. That'll mean 95 systems or more.
Yeah. I think it'll just be a slow. Like, I hope they get up to speed. I was saying to Algared, I think when we were talking to Sandy, I said I'd hope they get to the point where they can do one every quarter, at a minimum.
Yeah. And we don't know how far, the team that's working on the Planet systems at the moment, we don't know how far what they've developed or how far they've gone. We know they're working on at least the first 5. So
yeah,
so
Alpha Bravo asks, how do you remain objective if you have personal meetings with Sandy and Chris? Well, we haven't met Sandy and Chris in 10 years physically.
Well, we hadn't met Chris 10 years physically.
Yeah,
we did meet Sandy.
No, Sandy and we had a meeting as in online, but we haven't. You know what I mean? You're making it more complicated than you need to make it, though. So yeah, we haven't really met them in person in 10 years, is what I was trying to get at. But yeah, the point is,
until sitcom.
Yeah, until sitcom, we hadn't seen them.
Yeah.
Till PAX 2014.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easy.
But he's saying, how do we remain objective? Well, I think it was the look on John's face actually when that'll tell you. What was I was giving him criticism about the ships? Like when he literally said the Ironclad is the Drake Corvette, and I went, but it's not in the right size class to be a Corvette. And he looked at me like, and I said, the Polaris is a Corvette. How the hell can you consider the smaller ships to be a Corvette? They're completely different size classes. And it's like no one had ever told him that before.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like I gotta tell you, I'm very blunt. I just call it like I see it, right?
He did.
And I will just tell people straight to their face, I won't say you're wrong. I'll just say, but why? And it
was the same with the question on the two large ships they could build.
The build and the Galaxy.
Mm.
Yeah. No, it's exactly the same thing. And and they were able to answer that, but we just ask it like it is. And
I think,
I don't know, maybe we have a different perspective than other people, but we've been here long enough to know when it's good and when it's bad, and we've been through so many bad times, and we're like, you've got no idea, you weren't here for this time, and it does get like that. And and I'm sure there's people like Alpha Bravo that have been here for the longest period of time. If you are actively following the game day by day, which is what we've done the whole way along, because we're content creators, you kind of have to get up and someone will message you and start talking about Star Citizen. That's just how it happens. I talk about this game every day. It is a part of my life. It's just how it is, right?
Yeah.
But then if you check out and check back in, you can afford to miss stuff, right? We can't. So we see warts and all, and we are seeing this lumbering behemoth. It's moving. Might be moving really slowly, glacial even, but it is moving.
Yeah. And I think that the other thing is, like, my experience with Chris and Sandy is they're very happy for constructive criticism.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same. I don't think there's anyone in the company that's not happy for constructive criticism.
Yeah.
But if you just say, Chris, your game is a dumpster fire and
It
it's a piece
doesn't
of
help.
shit, that
It doesn't help. Yeah, and you're right, Algared. There were so many people that said we love constructive feedback. No, you're not wrong, and that's what we always look for, even in our own stuff, not just the game. Is if you want to say it sucks, like that person that walked in before. What was that question? And it was just like it was like rage bait. The one where it was Google Superstar. It says, "Is Star Citizen 2 already on the horizon as this holy solution for this messy piece of crap?" Right? That is someone you can clearly tell that is burned, but he just says it's a piece of crap. But he doesn't tell me why it's a piece of crap. You see? So when I look at that, I just see it as empty rage baiting. If you said, I hate how this, like, and there are people that generally say things in chat. They'll say, but this doesn't work, this is broken, this doesn't work. That's how you can tell they care, because they're telling you what's wrong. And they're the people you got to listen to, because they really want the game to work. They wouldn't be there telling you there's something wrong and what's wrong. They didn't care. If they don't care, they just said, this is a scam, blah, blah, blah. I want the sky to fall. They want it to fail.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And I think that's the big thing. Like, my experience is Chris and Sandy and every one of the devs I've spoken to are happy for constructive criticism. John and Ben were happy for us to talk and raise our concerns and worries, and then talk about how they do it and what they're looking at, and even discussing the problems with the endeavor, and just looking at them us being able to acknowledge the problems there are with the endeavor, and share those concerns and worries. And
you would see they were getting almost as much out of it as we were, though, because they don't get to sit down and have those questions. How do I put this? It's not like the usual will it fit, it sit. They were actually, I don't want to say our questions are better than other people's, but you guys that are around long enough, there's always questions in those top 10 questions that are just stupid shit, right? They weren't stupid questions. They were constructive questions, like Algared's stating.
And I think that's the difference. And we want the game to be good, and there are things that we don't like. We call them out on it, and we say, hey, why is this? Because this, from my perspective, this sucks. And then,
sorry, Mark Flat in chat says, I was a software developer in real life. SC is the most intriguing project for me for video game industry. That's exactly why I started following all the way back in the day, because I'd done game development and I just saw how corporate greed and money had taken everything, and I just didn't want to do it anymore. And then this comes along and there's no publisher. I was like, I am on board.
Yeah.
Because it just means you can just creative freedom and go to the bananas.
And I'll say, like I say, every time it comes up, thank you, Sandy. Because Sandy's the one who pitched to Chris and Otwin, you don't need to go publisher. Go independent the whole way. And the fans went, you beauty. And we got behind it. And then when Chris says, hey, we've got the funding, basically, we can stop. We all said, I can remember it. No, keep it going.
You can sit here and talk about feature creep and all this shit, but they're the ones that stopped doing the stretch goals. They knew when it got to a point where they had to cut it off, right? They're self-policing enough. And again, if Chris goes too far, or Aaron whoever goes too far, when you're in a group, it's the same thing when we do speculation, isn't it, Algared? Someone will call you on your bullshit, right? And as long as they let other people in their team call them on their bullshit, and they look outside the company as well for feedback, because sometimes everyone gets stuck in their little echo chambers of people thinking the same and stuff like that. It was the same thing when I said to John, but it's not a Corvette, it's like he'd never heard that before. Yeah. It's like and I'm not saying anyone, maybe no one in the company had thought that, but when I literally turned around and said that, Algared saw it. He had this look on his face like, huh? Like, what?
Yeah.
What?
Like, what do you mean?
What do you mean they're different sizes? Well, they are. They're completely different size classes. They're in completely different things. How can they possibly be the same? But anyway.
But it really is that type of calling things as they are and just looking for the good and the bad.
But I think to get back to the question here from Bravo too is I also try and look at lots of different content creators. Yeah. I deliberately go out of my way to watch people I hate. I hate. Like there's only one person I hate, right? And I go out of my way to watch that person because when they're getting it wrong or they're getting it right, it changes my perspective. You need to go look at that complete opposition to yourself to understand it.
And that's the other thing with CIG. Like, they do troll through Reddit and Spectrum and YouTube channels and content creators. You know, we know it's often one or two CIG developers in our chat.
Well, they've learned that when the feedback is there and it's constructive, and it is highly valuable. But you've got to sort through all the sea of shit of this is crap to get to the. It's the same thing. It's the same thing on Spectrum, Amalgam. Why I keep talking about downvoting errors. How they would be able to find that feedback a lot easier because all the stuff that doesn't matter would get downvoted.
Yeah. I don't disagree that downvoting errors have a place. 100%.
Yeah. Nathan Forrester says, "What ship do you think needs to be released for the game to be 1.0 ready?" I think there's more than a few.
Yeah.
You need you need like one ship for every basic gameplay in the game that's kind of been announced. So you need a repair ship, you need you know, some bigger medical ships that actually have the proper medical gameplay, the beds and stuff.
You need the scanning systems in, you need...
I'd even say a few more professions. Base building's one. I would like to see some basic science, some I mentioned repair already. Just the basics. Even farming would be nice. You know, some more shop ships and stuff like that.
Indeed.
Stuff like that.
I'd love to see farming type stuff. I'd love to see a ship geared for a big game, the big game hunter.
Someone's subtly trying to tell me it's food time.
Yeah, someone must be.
Yes.
We
actually have run over time. We're almost up to 3.5 hours now.
I noticed that.
All right, we got
Alpha Bravo.
6 questions.
Will we get a sewage transfer ship to clean the shower toilet combos?
The cleaning gameplay should be a thing. I think it will be eventually. It'll probably fall in line with the hygiene stuff. But again, if they do it too frequently, like the eating of food at the moment is way too frequent. And making it happen all the time just so you make other gameplays relevant. Like there's other games I've played in the past where you've got to eat all the time just to make the cooking gameplay relevant. Well, I don't want that to be a thing. I want, why don't you just up the number of resources required for cooking, but it makes a lot less food? You know what I mean? So
or it gives a bigger bonus, or
you know, or the more food you put into it, the better the recipe you can make, and as you said, the more bonuses in that food. So I can make, so it still makes a sandwich relevant, but also if I make like a roast on a spit pig covered in French cuisine, blah blah blah, you know, whatever the name of it is, that takes as long as well. So you're not just making all the high end stuff, you're making stuff all the way along, and continually making stuff all the way along because it's different values. Totally think that's how it should go. Anyway.
Game touch controller. You guys do realise that no looted components in contested zones, ships, etc. work, right?
You do realise that no looted components. Yes, they do not work at the moment, but that's again because it's a part of the missions, but it'll be working eventually. So yes, at the moment we are just putting up a phone. Nice to see you, the game touch controller. Hope you're doing well. I'm forgetting the gentleman's name. It is eluding me, but good to see you, buddy. Right.
Alpha Bravo. How badly do you think the announcement that there will be no crew NPCs at the 1.0 release will affect ship sales?
You badly think there will be no NPCs?
For the big multi. Look.
Cart before the horse. Again, like, I don't know. I always look towards the end of the game, and again, it's got to be built in stages. You can't just go, boom, we get everything. You got to pick and choose and be a priority order. And a game, this is not just a normal game. This is multiple games thick of game. So trying to sit there and say, I want the game, like I like this and I want it now, is like a little kid. And then when you've got a million little kids going, I want this and I want it now, well, tough titties. You just got to give them as they get them.
Like, I don't think the question is necessarily saying, oh, there's no, you know, we want the crew sales. We want the NPC crew. But I do think the question is relevant in terms of...
You think it's more the will affect ship sales?
Yeah, because those big ships with multiple crew.
So again,
There
you're
are
coming back to the now versus release problem, is what
Yeah,
this really is. Yes,
yeah.
I
But
agree.
there are people who will look at it and go, I want to be able to run my big ship with less crew. I need NPC crew to do that. So I'm not going to buy the ship. But on the converse, the Nautilus is not the Nautilus, the
So
Polaris is a great fun ship to fly in and play in with a crew.
So what I'm hearing is Alpha Bravo does not have enough friends. So if you want to be friends with Alpha Bravo, reach out to him, give him a hug, and become his friend. And then you'll have people to jump on his crew with him and play with him. That's the answer to the question. Let's find some friends for Alpha Bravo.
Look,
He's gonna
you
slap me
can
now. He's gonna slap me.
you can though go into the game and just say, hey, look, anyone want crew? I've been in the game and people are confident. Anyone need a crew? And people are often jumping for the opportunity.
I know you can turn around and say it's me and Algared, but I would literally jump into the Oz. Like, we're not that well known in Australia, right? Like, comparatively to like it was really weird for me and Algared to go to the UK and we're getting people walk up to us all the time. That doesn't happen when we're here as much, right? There just isn't the population, right? So when I jump on the Australian server and say, hey, anyone want to come and crew a Polaris with me, and people rock up, I guarantee you, if I was a nobody and did the same thing, I'd probably have pretty much the same experience.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'm pretty certain that'd be the case.
Yeah.
Alpha Bravo, how badly do you think the announcement that there will be that's already been answered?
Yep.
Sorry.
Yep.
McNoob guy says, what's your thoughts on AI crew? I think they should be feasible on money-making ships, but not on combat ships. The cost of crewing them should be a limiting factor. Cost of crewing with AI crew will be a limiting factor. And the cost of them will be based on what their skills are. And so...
Agree with that 100%.
And that's what Chris has said from 2014.
Yeah. Just like a normal crew member, they can take the data that we essentially give them through playing the game. They can look at the market, so to speak, and go, these are the rough average prices, and give rough average prices. Yep.
And they'll give them personalities based on what the you want someone who's gung ho. Yep. Okay. It's going to cost you X. You want someone who's a great engineer but a coward. It's going to cost So all of those aspects will come into it. But that type of stuff is stuff Chris has talked about from the year dot, from as long as I can remember.
Yep.
Alpha Bravo will be able to share bunks with our AI crew. Do I get to design their characters? Some of them you can. I believe back in the day.
I was asking another question there. Do I get to share bunks with my NPC crew? What are you insinuating here, sir? That's what I was just like. Where's he going with this question?
No.
Anyway,
he was talking hot bunking.
Yeah. Sure. He was. Yeah, hot bunking. Yeah. That's not the term you think it means, Algared. But anyway, right. Anyway.
But certainly for designing your characters with the those extra characters on extra packs, they did talk about those at one point where they would be able to you'd be able to work out design the clothing and share items between them. Will they still go down that line? Because this is years and years ago. Possibly. It is very much like Guild Wars 1 and Guild Wars 2 with the characters, where you could, in your party list and your characters slots, you could actually change their gear and then draw them in as your NPCs. But yeah, do we get to decide what they look like? Don't know. But they did talk about one of those characters even being able to be designated as your heir. So if you died, that character would take over and be the character you played. But other than that, I can't tell you.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that?
No, I'm good.
Right. And that means our last question.
Yep.
Is Krivitus, which was his question the first? Did he have a question that was from last week? That was the first question we answered this week.
Don't know, maybe.
Krivitus says, if they release a new concept ship this next year, what's the ship type? What ship type of ship that would convince you to buy it now, given your fleet already? Well, if I had the money, I'd buy every ship that was put out, because that's just what I do, or what I like to do.
Yeah, it really comes down to the gameplay, doesn't it? At the end of the day, it'd probably have to be something new for me. Big game hunting or something like that. underground mining or a capital refinery, something like that. Again, it'd have to be a ship that's not in my lineup. And again, I do have a lot of the bigger ships.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And one that wasn't doubling up on a lineup you had, because I remember at one point you were looking at one of the ships and you went, well, I don't need that one because I've got X and Y. As much as I like it, X and Y do the job better than this one, so
yeah,
I don't need it.
Yeah, that happens a lot with my stuff too. Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
All right, I'm just looking to see who we can raid here. I'm thinking about raiding King Chaos because he's doesn't have.
I was just chuckling at Citizen Scott's comment to the hot bunking. He said star herpes.
Yes.
And it did make me chuckle.
All right, so I think we'll raid King Chaos. Let's I'll just let me set that up real quick. All right. Anything you want to add, Algared, before we raid over here?
No, I think we've ranged far and wide on today's episode.
Oh, got some advertising. What's that? Black Snow.
Black Snow.
Oh, Aussie series. Oh. So that guy's Australian, but he's in lots of American shows. Like he's actually on June at the moment. But he's actually Australian. A lot of people don't know that.
He's also the Viking.
Yeah, he was the Viking. He was also in World of Warcraft. He's been in a whole bunch of shit. Yeah, he's a really cool guy.
Yeah.
And when he actually speaks, and he's straight accent, because people go, oh, shit, he's actually Australian.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're getting a whole bunch of ads anyway. But yeah, we're gonna raid King Chaos here, and he's in the menu. Oh wow, that's exciting stuff. Right, Twitch say goodbye to YouTube. YouTube say goodbye to Twitch. Oh, it looks like he's got one of the new cutlasses, Algared. That's the new exec one I think he's got there. So this could be interesting.
Exec cutlass. Oh, there you go.
All right then. Twitch say goodbye to YouTube. YouTube say go to Twitch. Hasta lasagna. We'll see you next week. Bye. And they're off.
And Twitch are gone.
All right, let's have a quick listen. See what he says.
Cast Florida boy. Yeah, good to fucking see you too, boy.
All right, he's doing more swearing than me.
Good, dude.
All right. Yep. I don't know. I like to see the interaction here. See what people say when we turn up.
Yes, Uvwe, I cannot wait for the snowbirds to get the hell out. Yes. If that's what you're referring to, Uvwe, I cannot wait.
Turned up for him yet.
Hey, does anyone else have a Cutlass Black? I got gear from a bunker and found the inventory panels inside. I guess the ship storage. How do you transfer that to a station local storage? Baconese, you're talking about the external storage.
All right. I don't think he saw. I don't think he saw a raid. I can see it in his chat there now, but I don't think he's seen us.
They all have the same thing.
I'll just tell him catch you later. Hold on.
It's also considered like shared storage, right, for people in your party. So, one thing you could do that's the easiest, Baconese, is put on a large backpack.
Yep.
They have extended the amount of storage you have now in backpacks.
Now it's turned up.
That is a good way to do it.
Wow, that's not delayed at all.
Inforunners,
no delay
what's
at all.
up, guys? Thanks for the raid. Welcome in.
All right, mate.
Very, very.
We'll catch you later,
good
King.
To see you guys. Merry late Christmas, happy holidays.
Same to you, bro.
Benzium, good to see you. Welcome in, buddy. Stream team alert for Benzium. How you been, Ben?
All right, we'll mute that now. All right, YouTube, thank you for joining us. I've got to go back over this one. Hang on. Yep.
Indeed.
Hope you guys had a good one. Enjoy your New Year's. Don't drink too much. I'll repeat the same
safe
thing.
and all their other stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll repeat the same thing I always say too. Make sure you reach out to a friend because these are not the best time of years for people that are on their own. So yeah, if you know someone that's on their own, please reach out and make sure they're all good. Right, with that then, he's been our... Oh, wait, I've got this thing. Don't forget to like, subscribe, ring that notification bell. And thank you to everyone that went the extra mile on Patreon at the end of the video. Right.
That's right.
He's been Algared.
He's been Execute, and we're out of here. Take care.
See you, citizens.